What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the lab. I'm your host, Joshua Diaz. We got a great show for you. I guess we can call ourselves the Three Musketeers if we want to, but I don't have a really better name. I'm sure Dr. Gary can come up with something philosophical for us. Maybe Sherlock, Holmes, Watson, and who else hung out with those guys? Is there a third?
The Three Amigos.
There's too many funny answers if you're a Sherlock Holmes fan to that. Yeah. I don't think you want me to really answer that. I mean, we could call you. Would they have to be a good guy? You're part of the team?
I'm the host of the team right now.
Right. Host of the team. Give me a minute. I'll come up with one. Yeah.
Tequila. Kind of like beer. Okay, 3 tequilas.
Is that what was it? The Three Amigos?
Yeah. Yeah. Remember the bar scene? Yeah.
I have it on VHS.
Yes. Yeah.
Chris, I was happy to find out that you love Christmas Vacation as much as I do.
Oh, but you kidding me, Gary? I know all the lines.
Those are
everything I know about exterior illumination.
First full.
Crystal. That's going to look real nice in your driveway there, Clark.
Grace, she died 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So, that was the voice of Betty. That was the voice of Betty Boop.
Really?
The one who played the aunt, Mae Questel. She was the voice of Betty Boop. They dug her up out of mothballs to play that character, and you could hear it when she talks that she's Betty Boop.
I love it. How about the squirrel?
Squirrel. Well, Josh, you like Cousin Eddie, right?
I do. I like him in both vacation movies. I like him in Vegas Vacation. And one of my favorite parts in Vegas Vacation, because I know people like this, unfortunately, is when they're at the buffet and Clark goes to get his own. And he's like, Clark, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. We only need one plate. And he's like putting food in his pocket and stuff. And then when Clark like busts on blackjack, and because he's got that metal plate in his head, and he burps and then passes out in the casino. But I'm a huge fan.
Save the heart for me, Clark.
Yeah.
I said that yesterday at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect.
That line gets me every time. No, that movie's hysterical. Yeah, and I like when Chevy Chase kind of loses it. His eyes get big and he kind of goes nuts. Remember when he kidnaps the boss?
Mm-hmm.
Or he wants the boss kidnapped, and I think Eddie kidnaps him.
Of course Eddie does. Well, that's why when the Alex Murdaugh case was going on and Cousin Eddie came up, it was just fitting, that there's a bunch of dumb people, but how
about
there's a Cousin Eddie in everybody's family.
Well, my dad was crazy about it. Before he passed away, we used to watch it religiously.
Yep.
We went to see it when it came out in the theater, and the part that used to have him, with his hand on his side, was when you see the electric meter spinning around. He thought that was the funniest thing when it went like, and he also loved when the little plastic Santa gets like blown up and is flying across the house. Remember? It's like,
I remember that.
He loved stuff like that. It was like flying. God.
So everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I guess.
Yeah.
Had a good thing.
Very disorganized, and
nobody's in jail. So all three of us made it.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't close to going to jail or anything, but I was certainly, it was very disorganized and annoying. So, but it all's well that ends well, and it did end well. But I also got denied an emergency permit for the porta potty at my house that I wanted people to use instead of my bathroom.
Really?
Yeah.
How many people did you have over?
Very Cousin Eddie.
Would you have a Black Friday or something?
It was like I didn't matter. I could have been 4. I didn't care. I didn't want anybody using my bathroom.
No.
You were going to rent, or you did rent?
No, I tried to rent one, but they said that we
denied you a permit.
They said we weren't zoned for one because we weren't zoned.
Imagine that.
And then I had to apply for an emergency to permit, and they even said in the email that because you're not a construction site, I doubt that they'll grant you one. It's like, all right.
Go figure. Think cousin Eddie out, cleaning the
right.
crappers out on the curb. I could see you out there with your porta potty.
Been working on it all week. We tried to get it all week.
Family and members saying, "Whoa, whoa, 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 what? Outside, with the dogs."
Right. Well, it's just, let's just say it was a disappointing disappointing situation. But like I said, it all worked out. There were no major issues. There was some time confusions, but other than that, what do you expect when you're pulling together, I don't know, 6 different families or 5 or whatever. The 5 families, Dr. Gary, you know how it is.
5 families. Wow. So you had a lot of people.
He's trying to get me to do a Godfather impersonation. He knows how much I love to do it.
He does a really good one. Have you ever heard him?
No, not yet. Go.
What do you want me to say?
Get the point.
If anybody breaks the peace, it's not going to be me.
Yeah, he makes me do Marlon Brando's The Godfather all the time.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. There was like 15 people. I mean, it wasn't a crazy amount.
That's a good size family. That's great.
We used to pack in. We used to have the craziest Thanksgiving where it would be like 30 people from both sides of family. And we would just pack in to a house, and it used to be a lot of fun, but my grandma's getting older now, and it's like when it gets too loud, it's like upsetting sometimes. And
the cops are coming.
Cops show up and bean bags are shot at us and and things like that. I could have been a contender. Do that.
Well, I don't like to do Marlon Brando in other movies as much as I like to do Marlon Brando's The Godfather.
All right. How about can you do the scene where he says that I'm a superstitious man?
I'm a superstitious man.
Yeah, but the line that I like is when he says,
"My boy, look how they massacred my boy."
Yeah. He does it pretty good.
I do all the time. I used to answer the phone like that. Oh my God. But anyway, so listen, in all seriousness, there's a lot going on in the world of true crime.
A lot going on in the world.
Oh yeah. Crazy story. My heart went out to the families, the family of that poor National Guard member who was killed 20 years old. The other one, critical condition. But I mean, she was only 20 years old, for God's sake. I mean, think of the family on Thanksgiving, getting that news. It was rough. And the story unfolding surrounding it is just unbelievable. Sounds like there are potential developments in a few cases that are dear to us, which is really interesting stuff. And so there's a lot to talk about. But
I mean, anything from that, Brian Kohbergers not getting the right bananas.
Aw.
What a pile. Like, first, before we get there, did you guys see the fire in Hong Kong?
Yeah, it's really terrible.
That was, I mean, I'd never seen anything quite like that.
The building,
all 8 of the complexes went up, and it was like the contractors and stuff are getting in trouble because of that. The scaffolding was, bamboo, and it was just an accelerant that just took. I mean, it just connected all the bill. It was just sounds like a really terrible. I watched when they were, trying to put out what was left of that fire, and it was just like complete devastation.
Did you know that the scaffolding was bamboo?
I believe so. And dry bamboo will go up like nobody's business,
So somebody in the audience said it was bamboo scaffolding. I hadn't heard that. That's deeply disturbing. But there's a lot going on. And but do you want to talk about that ridiculous Kohberger development?
I would love to. I think that because the only delight in him, being in jail is the part of him, or prison, is him being miserable, because that's what he deserves. I mean, he doesn't deserve he doesn't deserve fresh bananas. He doesn't deserve unbruised bananas. And he's a little prima donna who thinks that the world revolves around him, while he's an incarcerated person for the rest of his natural born life. And I get minor joy out of him being upset about that kind of stuff. So Yeah, please, if you want to talk about it.
I mean, Gary, does that surprise you that he's that way?
Not at all. I mean, the center of the Kohberger case is a guy with a very high need for control and domination over other people. And he liked, as we said in the profile before he was even a suspect, this was a person who lived a mechanical existence. And what does that say? Oh, yeah. And so it's par for the course that he would be somebody who was completely obsessed over these little minor things. And what would happen with this kind of person is that the more afraid and out of control he feels, the more he's going to obsess over these little petty things. He'll use his diet and other things that, and notice the other point of it seems to be to make himself the victim. I'm being deprived of what I need because of my dietary needs, my obsessional, as if anybody is going to pause and forget that he didn't give a flying rat's behind about anybody else's needs or life or anything else. But to this kind of person, he is the victim. He is a control freak, and everyone should cater to him. He doesn't understand, obviously, that he has no control anymore. It's lost. And ultimately, the only control that's going to be left is having the narrative to share. That's why he's holding it back, I have no doubt. One day, and Chris, you've alluded to this also on your own show, that it's just a matter of time until he pops back up and is in court again, or is bothering the families, or telling his story in a provocative way, or whatever, because ultimately it's always about his ego and getting control back. And we know that right now he's feeling a little out of control with the banana thing. Of course, we could
He's
also
bananas.
he's right. We could also take exactly. We could also. I don't think he's bananas mentally. I think he's a control freak. No, I don't think he's like psychotic or something like that. I think he just has personality problems and is obsessional. Although let's see when he's examined more carefully. But the other thing, of course, is what would Freud say about this? The symbolism of these bananas. And what they mean. But I think he's.
Are you insinuating that bananas, because he's in prison and bananas are phallus shaped?
I'm just suggesting that, although I am not adopting this, I'm joking that Freud would probably opine something about not having control over a banana that would, if it were a dream, a Freudian would have you on a couch analyzing it at great length.
Yep. So what's the problem with the bananas? Does anybody know the specific problems with them?
Yeah. So I have a source, as you guys know. And anyway, he fed me this information, and he's not only complaining about his bananas, but apparently it's driving him bananas, and the rest of the inmates are still taunting him to no end. He's still in the J block.
Yeah.
And he's basically just nonstop with the staff. You got to get me out of here, blah, blah, blah. They hate me. But here's the problem. The other side of that coin. He thought he was going to go into that system as kind of, into infamy, right?
Right.
And they hate him. They hate him. And he can't make heads or tails out of that concept. So,
right.
And Gary, why is that? Why is that for him?
Well, it's a little complicated because we don't know what the particular issue is with him, until he's assessed in a context that isn't associated with his defense. You know what I mean? Somebody goes in there and just sort of, because we don't know. How do I say this? I think there wasn't an independent assessment of him by a board certified person, so I'm not casting aspersions on that. But it was part of his defense. I would like to see, ultimately, if he really meets criteria for, let's say, is he a psychopath? Is he truly an autistic person? I have some issues with the idea of that. Does he have some other personality stuff? Does he have just, kind of OCD? It'll be interesting to see. But whatever is going on with him, he has difficulty with imagining the feelings of other people. Several of those things can be associated with that problem. and he doesn't really correctly ascribe, doesn't correctly interpret what other people think of him or feel about him. It was part of the problem all along. And I also think the other thing is, let's face it, he must be aware, unless he is living in a complete bubble, he is at very high risk of being SA'd. I cannot imagine that this story isn't going to culminate in this guy being, assaulted by people in that place, or that his obsessionality is going to be so outrageous and his condescension so outrageous that somebody assaults him physically in a different way. He is very provocative. It's really hard to believe. I could just picture somebody saying to him, like, "Who do you think you are to talk to me like that?" That kind of thing, because he doesn't feel
what does the autism have to do with anything?
Well, if he was authentically autistic, the idea would be that he had some kind of mechanical, rote way of interpreting people, attaching to people, whatever, and was trying to make a science out of people, basically, to understand them better, to get them to like him, all of that. And that, at the time of killing, the idea might be that he was sort of experimenting, that he was sort of scientifically interested in what happens when you, make carvings in Ethan's leg, or assault Kaylee beyond what is necessary to kill her, that kind of thing. But I have to say that I don't interpret it that purely that way. I think that this is a calculating, cruel individual who was angry at women and who was motivated by sexual fantasy. There aren't too many autistic people who are violent. First of all, I think they get a bum rap generally. And the other thing is that, you don't tend to be motivated by things like violent pornography. That you see that in people that are closer to serial killers, or perverse killers. So I think there is that piece of it. And I think people who are aware of that, and he must be still having fantasies like that, right? And he can't keep his mouth shut. So you could just imagine, the things he's saying, the provocative stuff he's interested in, how weird he is and how loose he is. I just think he's at very high risk for somebody to attack him or to assault him sexually.
Well, the prison feels that way as well. Yeah. So,
guy, don't you think, Chris, that from our knowledge of what goes on in these places, he's a target.
oh yeah, and so that's why they've got him isolated still in the J block. They're not putting him into general pop in any way, shape, or form. They're not letting anybody get near him, and it's basically driving him crazy. And we talked about that before.
And imagine, and this is where the banana, my joke about Freud comes in.
He's going bananas.
Is that, well, I think that the Freudian symbolism, if this were a dream, for example, is the idea that somebody takes the object of phallic control or power away from him, or doesn't, and I think that's ultimately what he fears. Not only literally in terms of being SA'd, which I think he is afraid of, and he knows he's at high risk of, but also just the symbolism out in the world that he needed to assert that kind of control. One might make the interpretation that choosing a knife as the weapon also shows that.
Yeah.
So there is something about that with this guy, and and then also the symbolism of the banana being kind of like a passive vegan kind of thing, and the knife being the vicious, cruel, real self underneath that. Because I think that's what he is. He's a sort of phony, passive, in control guy who internally is like a kind of a ferocious, sexual, aggressive, angry guy. So it's going to be interesting. He may explode if they keep not giving him what he wants and making him feel out of control. He may pop. That's what I wanted to happen in court. I wanted him to go to trial, and I wanted the prosecution, to say things that provoked him into showing his true self. He would have exploded in the courtroom, and then the jury would have said, "Wow, that's what those victims saw."
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like what happened with where John Douglas advised the prosecutors on the Wayne Williams case. Remember the African American killer in Georgia?
Alabama.
Remember?
Atlanta.
In Atlanta, yeah. and he suggested that they sort of say to him, like, what did it really feel like to kill those kids, to provoke him? And he exploded, and that was the end of it. The jury knew what he was. So I just think they took away the opportunity to let this guy's mask fall off and show, the knife, not the banana. And Josh, what do you think about it? Don't you think that they could have used that technique with him?
Yeah, I mean, they certainly could have, but from what he admitted to already, I mean, it seems like it's enough to know that he's willing to just kill indiscriminately, because I think that people, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like the idea wasn't for him to kill 4 people, but he had no problem doing it, or everybody in the house would have been killed. He would have went room for room.
Right.
And so, to me, it just shows what a cold-blooded killer he is. But at the same time, I think back to something that you said a while ago where, he's in his early teenage years, when he was overweight and, kind of run down and things like that. Then he loses weight, and then he does all these things to try to assimilate into, into just being a normal person and wanting people to accept him, or whatever normal is for him. And then everything that he does fails, and then he moves on to something else and something else. And then finally he's just at his breaking point and he says, okay, well, here. So I think that will happen again. That's what happens to him in life. I think back also to to me, this was very telling that he was upset with his aunt and uncle because they didn't have pots and pans that were vegan only, that he didn't want to eat out of anything that had meat cooked in it ever. And he was upset with them when his ass should have went and got his own pans himself, but he didn't. He wanted to complain, and that's what he is. He's a complainer. He's a coward. He's a crybaby. He's all of those things that you can wrap up into a man-child. And then on top of that, he's a psychotic killer.
Yeah, but no, I wouldn't say psychotic. He knows the difference between right and wrong. He's psychotic implies he's out of his mind. He doesn't know reality. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
But I think what you're implying is more like he's a psychopath. Is that what you mean?
I don't know what the technical term is for it, but he's a
You're implying he has no conscience, that he did it.
Yeah, he didn't care.
That's what you're. Well, think about it like this. Imagine somebody who supposedly, is so obsessed with dirt, germs, and contamination, whatever, who would put himself in a position where he would then have to be obsessively afraid of having left one crumb of DNA. I mean, you're talking about a person who is walking around with an obsessional quality, and then puts himself in a position where he's got to go around looking for little bits of dandruff and hair and drops of blood and whatever, and walking around in rubber gloves. It's like throwing yourself into your worst nightmare for an obsessional person. You understand?
Yeah. Well,
it would be.
You bring up something very interesting too, that it is today's the anniversary of Dahmer being killed in prison. And I'm sure
the audience caught that. I was impressed. That's true.
And I'm sure that that's something that is on his mind as well, because when you're locked up with, you're locked up with the worst of the worst. They don't care. They don't care. They want notoriety. They're locked away for. And can you imagine, like, somebody that did that would be praised by hundreds of thousands of people?
It cost Dahmer, an arm and a leg to get in the place where he was.
It's true, actually.
I can't believe you guys give me that much room. I really don't. I mean, Karen lets me out, for 72 hours. And, here I am with the 3 amigos, and, the gang's all back together. And, but you guys, can I tell my,
I know the one you're about.
You know what? Can I ask permission?
Of course.
For the new lab rats out there. I mean, Gary knows this, Josh knows this, and probably a lot of you know, when the cops went into Dahmer's house and they opened his refrigerator, and one of them says, "Oh my gosh, there's pizzas in here. And everybody was like, what are you talking about? Pizzas. And so what kind of pizzas were they? Gary? Josh?
Oh, you want to say it, Dr. Gary?
Either one.
Domino's pizzas?
Yeah, Domino's.
Domino's. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that right there is an insight into the mind of a homicide detective.
Well,
we all went bananas that day.
How appealing. Well, look, I can't. The reality is that you have to understand something about Dahmer. Dahmer's another guy who people thought was autistic. I want to emphasize that. Michael Stone was convinced that Jeffrey Dahmer was on the autism spectrum, and that his true motivation, even in interviews, according to himself, was simply that it was a kind of black and white, concrete way of never losing somebody again. He was tired of loss and decided best thing to do is eat them.
Yeah, he couldn't get anybody to stay. Right.
It's a very, very, very autistic thing to do. An autistic style thing to do. But the thing is, Dahmer was also a psychopath. 50% of psychopathic serial killers have what is called schizoid autistic detachment. They are not autistic in the traditional sense. They have that mechanical scientific detachment where you think of people like a frog in a dissection tray. So you're sort of up here looking at them without an understanding of them. And that's what you're dealing with these people. It's not true autism. It's that mechanical detachment that you see in some of these cruel types of personalities. And the thing with Dahmer is that, people who were in the jail will tell you, he would do this thing where he would like pretend to have had a religious conversion. Remember that whole thing with him? He had a religious conversion.
Yeah, he did that on Phillips.
Yeah, right. And then what he would do is, when the guards would turn away, he would make a funny face at a prisoner or mock them, right? So that's where you see the true Dahmer, right? So you'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry, whatever. And then the person would go and he'd be like, make a funny face at a prisoner. So at some point, somebody snapped on him. You see what I mean? You have to understand, like, people knew what he really was when he wasn't doing his little act. See?
Well, he watched a lot of TV when he was eating dinner, too.
Oh, God.
A lot of TV dinners.
A lot of TV dinner here. What was it? He liked The Exorcist 3? Like the worst one out of all of them, too.
Right. Oh, I like that one. I think that book is the most disturbing of all of them.
The Exorcist, the third?
Yeah.
I think it's the worst one out of all of them.
You think so?
I don't like any of them, to be honest with you.
I don't watch any of those.
No, I don't like supernatural, spiritual
I see.
haunting, but I think the movie itself was, the first one was completely creepy, but no, I try and stay away from that Ed and Lorraine Warren type stuff. What's that?
I knew them. I actually have inside something that was given to me by them. Between us, I never believed the word they said.
Okay, you got to show us now that you said it.
It's a little disturbing. It's a little kind of amulet.
Anything somebody says to you is, we know it's going to be disturbing. That's why it's cool.
Maybe at the end of the show. Let me put it this way. I never believed a word they said. I thought they were very nice people, but I didn't believe anything they said. No.
I think they believed what they said.
I agree with Josh.
I really do. I think that they...
I was never sure. I didn't know them very well, but I knew them just a little bit from having interacted with them briefly.
Remember last year for New Year's? Are you guys going to be around for New Year's this year?
I have it cleared. Absolutely.
Gary?
What, for New Year's? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So you want to do what we did last year? Have a marathon with
remember where you made me
everybody
bizarre
and not watch the ball drop?
And you didn't you show a lot of your
memorabilia, things that were given to me to study, related to some of these offenders. And, we looked at a lot of that when we did the New Evil. That's how you get a feel for these people. You got to look at their output, their drawings, their writings, that kind of thing. But you have to understand that Ed Warren was that when they met, it was because, which they would tell you if you ever spoke to them, they met basically going around painting what they thought were haunted houses. That's how they basically got together. They were fascinated. They would get together, and Ed was always painting and drawing and whatever. And he used to make these little amulets and little things that were supposed to ward off evil, and then he would give them to you. So what I have is one of these little made by Ed, like with bats on it or something. It's supposed to be like a little amulet or something. It's crazy, but I kept it.
And for the people that are asking in the chat, it was like it was about a 6-hour show that we did.
On New Year's. Yeah.
On New Year's, we went through almost every time.
I didn't know that. I never showed that.
We did it here, right, Josh? On your channel?
No, we did it on yours.
Well, let's do it this year on yours.
We can do it wherever. I'm more than happy to do it.
Okay, go ahead. So that's a commitment. Done.
Let's do it.
Okay, so go ahead. Finish your thought.
The funniest part of that whole thing was we were waiting for the ball to drop in New York.
Oh, yeah, and it never
happened. We had the wrong camera. And then we kept going, it's like 12:15. We're like, when's the ball going to drop? And everybody kept going, oh, we saw it already. We saw it already. And we were crowd watching, I think is what we were doing.
Yeah. Well, remember we started, we forgot the time change.
Yeah.
And the ball had already dropped and we were like, man, where's this ball? Where is it? And everybody was, with their twirlers and their hats. And
and we did call in that night too.
Yep.
And I figured we could probably do that.
That'd be fun
again. So yeah, I had planned on it. I thought we were going to make that tradition.
Good. It is. Put it down, everybody in the chat. Rats.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
I'll tell everybody on my channel.
Yeah, that'll be a blast.
Mary, you can write a song.
Yeah, right. I think did Ronald DeFeo die? By the way, the schizophrenic. I think he did. I think he died a few years ago. The one who shot the whole family, the mass murderer, shot the whole family in Amityville, which was one of these cases that were opined on by the Warrens. I think he's dead. Do you remember the whole thing that he was hearing voices and went around with the shotgun and killed the whole family and all that?
Yeah.
And then of course there's that they made a book and then a movie, and there were a lot of exaggerations of all the preternatural stuff that supposedly happened there, and then the famous trope of the Native American burial ground, that whole thing.
Yeah.
But although there is one photo that was taken in that house that has always horrified me, because I think it was like an official investigation photo, but there's like a little kid in it that has a very scary face. Did you ever see that photo? That photo bugged me because it's really hard to understand how it was faked. But that's one of those photos that you're just like, it's pretty creepy stuff. I mean, So look, there are things that happen in this world that are very difficult to understand. I agree with you that the Warrens, how do we say this? I think that they were in earnest. I wouldn't say they were like charlatans. I just think that a lot of times when they would tell a story, I'd be thinking, and I don't mean to me, I mean in pub, I would say, but there's simple explanation for that. I thought of it like from a scientific perspective, a lot of it I think could be explained, but some things were just a little too weird.
But would you agree or disagree that there are people that attract certain energy?
This is complicated. I mean, you have to remember I'm a scientist, but I also happen to be Christian. So it's a complicated question. Because as a Christian,
we need to ask Dr. Catherine Ramsland. She wrote a whole book about it.
She's very, very interested in that crossover. Yes, I would say, first of all, look, as a Christian, I would never deny anything that Christ said, and he was very clear about having participated in exorcisms and things like that. So as far as Christ was concerned, those things happen. So who am I to deny that, right? But I will say, in the same way that every diocese in the entire Catholic Church has an exorcist, they will tell you 99% of the time it's psychological, or there's an explanation. There's that 1% where something happens that's too weird, you can't explain it, and you bring it to the church. And but most of the time, these things are explainable, or they're people that are mentally ill, or they are charlatans, or they want attention, or it's unconscious. So there's all kinds of things. But there are these weird stories, that are really hard to explain. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where I'm at up here in Navajo country, you ever heard of the Skinwalkers?
Yes.
Oh, that's creepy sounding.
Yes, the Skinwalker Ranch, right?
Well, that's Skywalker, I think, Skywalker Ranch, but it may be Skinwalker Ranch. I don't know. I
think it's Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, that's above my pay grade, personally. So, but
wouldn't you
I
agree?
don't delve into that.
But Chris, you would agree that from a religious perspective,
I've been in the room. I've been in the room, and the whole room has gone cold with people.
Experiences like that, it's fascinating.
I mean, been there, done that, and I don't ever try to, I don't know, solicit it and or fight with it, because you'll lose. That's my personal opinion.
Well, people I know that are priests and even ministers from other Christian faiths, and I have heard stories, particularly about work in the missions, Africa, the Caribbean, places like that, where there are more stories like that.
Yeah.
They're very, very haunting.
Especially in Haiti.
Oh, that's an interesting. We could get into that subject about some stories I have associated with that particular country. Yes, but like simple example, I knew someone who knew someone who worked in the missions, who told me that they were in. I don't remember which part of Africa it was, but there was a small boy in the village that they were working in, who was walking funny and speaking in a kind of gibberish, and his face was contorting. And they sent for family from like a different part of Africa to come. And when the family member came, they said, he's not speaking in gibberish. He's speaking in the dialect of his deceased grandfather and in the voice of his deceased grandfather, and is walking like his deceased grandfather, but he never met him. And so they wound up exorcising that boy. And, so there are stories like that I've heard that just.
Oof. Well, we had a radio call one night, true story. Had a radio call one night that the RP was reporting that the drawers in the kitchen were opening and things were flying out. And I was a patrol guy at the time. And I'm like, well, I don't know how I'm going to handle this call. But I remember getting there, and the drawers were opened. There was nothing, being thrown around when we got there, but it was like really weird. I mean, just, you'd be surprised. I mean, being,
I've heard everything.
Cops, we get called to all that crap, and you just don't know what you're going to get to, and but a lot of times, it's 5150s. And that kind of stuff, who are,
most of the, I mean, that's the thing to emphasize, is 99% of the time. But there are these weird things that happen. For example, there was a very, very famous psychologist called Rollo May. You may have heard of Rollo May Institute, for example. Well, Rollo May, who was very interested in this crossover between religion and psychiatry, really, told a story once that he had people that were in the inpatient unit at a hospital, and there was a very particular time of day when they would all start to take their clothes off and get kind of aggressive and curse. And he figured out that it was always when the priest was visiting the patients and would walk past the room with the Blessed Sacrament, with the Eucharist in the pyx. But the patients didn't know it. And when this guy would walk past with the host, they would start to strip and curse and become aggressive. And he was fascinated by it because he couldn't figure out how they knew. See, I mean, these kinds of things are really, really interesting. I have so many stories like that. You have no idea.
Well,
it is what it is.
The Giants in San Francisco, they have all kinds of stories, but we don't want to get too bad into there. But Josh, what about Summer?
Oh, on that story.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
did you just vanish somehow? And like,
he's leaned back because I talked about the Giants.
I did, because I was just waiting for him to say something about the Giants, but
and how crappy.
Yeah, that's something that's obviously been trending. People talking about
Summer Wells.
The Summer Wells case. Chris, I saw that audio and I listened to a bit of it that you dropped the other day, and we can play a bit of it and discuss it. Because
Well, one of the things that folks were having questions about, and I showed it a little bit the other day, was, the question of, did Donnie have pigs growing up? And I talked to Mary at length about that and said, yeah, but he didn't have like a pig farm. He lived, or he worked on a farm with his grandfather, and his grandfather had pigs, but it wasn't like anything close to what a pig farm would look like. So I went out and, I showed everybody, what a pig farm is. And, you're welcome to, fire that puppy up and show everybody. And I got to be honest with you, when I went in there, well, first of all, they ruined my shoes. I literally came home and Karen's like, what's that smell? I said, I went to a pig farm. She goes, oh my gosh, get those shoes out of the house. And I had to throw them away. But I just got my new ones today, some Skeechers from Amazon. Don't you love Amazon?
I do, actually.
Boom, 24 hours, there they were. And my pig shoes were in the trash. But anyway, when you go...
And my pig shoes were in the trash. There's a sentence you hear every day.
And that's a cool backdrop, Josh. You're getting like fancy. Yeah. But anyway, if you want to, if folks wanted to see what it looks like, on a pig farm on your channel, I showed it on my channel, but you're welcome to show it. But the answer was, so I talked to these guys. There's over 300,000 pigs on this one farm out there, and they're in these little Quonset huts type of things. And he said to me, if one of the pigs dies and they don't get it in time, okay, the other pigs will devour that pig. And I thought that was really interesting, but they won't eat the enamel on the teeth, but they will eat every bone in that pig farm. You trying to pull it up?
Yeah, I am. And for some reason it just keeps spinning, but
let me see.
I think I can do it now. I don't know.
Should work, right?
You never know with StreamYard. Hold on. Let me.
Maybe you have to take the.
Let me just. Well, that's just the background, so it should.
I don't think it's the background.
Hold on. Let me just refresh. Hold on.
Desert Moon. Yeah, we agree with you that you're probably rolling on a lot of those. And for the audience, a 5150 psych is a 72-hour hold. Take them in. Maybe it's your internet. No,
it has some. I don't know it. I have no idea. No, my internet's fine, I think. Do you see it spinning or no?
Yeah, it's spinning.
Wow,
it's spinning.
Here, put it. Can you put it back up and then I'll try it again? I just kicked Chris from the studio.
He'll be back. And keep Chris down. That was pretty interesting. The little sort of swerve we made into the preternatural. I thought that was sort of interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah. You think he's coming back?
Old Yeller ain't coming back anymore.
Oh, what a terrible! I think about that movie sometimes, and I just go, whoever wrote that sick.
You think so?
Yeah, dude. You don't think so?
I showed that movie one time to a class, and one kid was hysterically laughing, and I was like, "That's a special kid." That's like the Addams Family cartoon where Uncle Fester is the only one hysterically laughing and everyone else is crying at the tearjerker.
Right. Yeah.
Tells you everything you need to know.
Hold on a second.
Like old Yeller ain't coming back. There's something about that.
Well, I think I've told this before, but in the book of Mice and Men, everybody in my class wrote behind, like at the very beginning, we all wrote that George kills Lenny as soon as you open the book at the very beginning, and we all got in trouble for that.
Oh no.
Yeah. We had to go turn him back. You have to go turn him back into the library at the end of the year. And so everybody, wasn't just my idea. There were other people involved, but we all wrote, George kills Lenny. And then that was it.
God. Do you see that Chris wrote that he needs the link?
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Oh, that's really funny. Well, okay. I like the Man. It's kind of hard not to.
It's a terrible, terribly sad movie, but I think the point of Mice and Men, and I've actually thought about it a lot, was the unconditional love that he had to do for his his brother Lenny. Well, which I don't think it was his actual brother, but right. Sent it off. Oh, he's back.
So people are saying in the audience that it isn't right that we're having a moment of levity after introducing the topic of Summer Wells. I don't think that any connection with someone. Just check a look in the chat. I don't think that that's what's going on. I think everything just went haywire.
I tried to bring Chris up, or I tried to bring this thing up, and we're
we have great, enormous
treading water at the moment. So
right, and so okay, so we'll make the important point that the Summer
You mean to tell me I missed all the trolls?
Yeah, dude, just kick him out. I mean, I don't understand. Like, I don't care.
No, but seriously,
I
do think it's important to.
I don't care. They're completely wrong, and they have no idea what they're talking about.
Well, obviously, who has more? I mean, listen, you guys have made very clear your feelings about the matter. So now, so moving
spent
on.
4 years of my life on Summer Wells.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, if they want to be a miserable person and make snide comments that they have no idea what the hell they're talking about, then
the popcorn machine must be broken.
Yeah, they can just leave. I could care less. Make snide comments and just get booted. That's all you have to do.
So but seriously,
I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you said that.
Mommy, they're making fun of me.
Bye.
The lab. Don't kick them out. Leave them in.
Nah, I don't want them. They've been doing it. One of the mods said they've been doing it all night. So.
But Chris, what is the context of that recording?
Oh, can you put that back up, please?
How did you get it? How old is it?
I drove out to a pig farm,
right?
And I recorded it. Here. Let me see.
I see.
We're back up.
So the context is this is how long after the disappearance?
There it is.
Oh, it finally worked. Okay, sweet.
They probably don't want to be here to see this.
Who?
The trolls.
Well, they can stay and watch. They just can't comment anymore.
Okay, so this the little context here. So there's over 300,000 pigs on this particular farm, literally, and this is only one section of 30 or 43 buildings, I believe. Okay, so this is only one section. So the question was, if somebody were to want to get rid of a body, could pigs devour that body? And the answer is yes. Okay.
Great number of cases I can think of in which pigs were used that way.
Really?
Several. Oh, absolutely. I mean, even as simple as Willie Picton up in Canada, who eliminated the bodies of prostitutes by feeding them to pigs and then selling the pork.
Okay, so stop it right here for a second, Josh, if you can, or should I?
No, I got it.
Okay. So each one of these, you'll notice a couple of suspects down in the center of the aisle. They got out. 2 pigs got out, and see them down at the end there. I felt sorry for them because it was obvious they were felons, and they were running for their, they were trying to get out the back door when the guy I was with, and they took off out the back. But they couldn't get out, obviously. But each one of these little pens, all these guys are in there, and gals, I don't know what they are, but they were all fighting with each other, and it was a really interesting experience.
They're very smart pigs.
They are very smart.
They're
Yeah.
very intelligent. Yeah. And actually, the funny thing is, pigs are quite clean. It's just that because they don't have proper sweat glands, they have to roll around in mud. But the reality is that if they had it their way, they would be quite meticulous. It's a funny thing about animals we think are disgusting. Some of them are quite meticulous. For example, cockroaches. Cockroaches are very clean. They clean their bodies endlessly. We think they're dirty, but they're like neat freaks.
Or
But
after
very smart and very clean. If
Yeah.
they can be.
And I felt so bad for them
Mm-hmm.
because, they're stressed out. You could tell that, it was sad, to be honest with you, to go into there. But at the same time, it was really eye-opening. And,
Mm-hmm.
but, and when I came home and I showed Karen the video, she's like, "Oh, I don't want to watch this. I don't want to watch it." I told her, I said, "Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, everybody I saw in there looked like Buddy." It was like, 200 buddies, 400 buddies. And, with the ears flopped over and stuff. And,
I actually quit. I actually smoked ham yesterday, but I didn't eat any. I quit. I quit eating ham.
Did you, because of this?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
About 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's too sad.
I just got this on Thursday, you chicken beak. When did you stop?
About
eating?
6 months ago.
Okay, keep playing.
I've actually talked about it a bunch.
Yeah, this is factory farming for sure. Look at them all. They're all in there.
Yeah, I won't.
And
Look how cute they are.
they are. There's one dude in there, if you look on the second pen there, I mean, he looked like an MMA guy, and he was just going at everybody. They're, jumping on everybody, pounding on everybody. It was interesting to watch these guys.
Look at the one with spots.
Huh?
The one with spots is cute.
Yes. Yeah. But so I asked I learned something here, right, with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
If one of these pigs passed away, and if in fact they couldn't there's two other suspects. See those two guys down at the end of the hall?
Yeah.
I told them I had a warrant, and they ran. Anyway, long story short. And then right to the far left, you're going to see these two dudes. See those guys in the corner? They're the cutest little buttons you've ever seen. And long story short, if one of them passes away, if the handlers don't get in there and get the animal out, they will be gone within 24 to 48 hours. Gone, like down to the teeth, completely. And those aren't even hogs. He said hogs are worse. He said hogs are bigger and meaner.
Boars are the worst.
Are they?
Oh, yes. You ever see the teeth on a boar?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're mean, and they tear up farms in Texas. And, they're tearing Texas apart. But anyway, so there you go.
You remind me, once I was at a party with this guy who had a very sleepy voice, and he was talking about how in his youth he had been this wild stallion of a person. This kind of people that you had to see me in my prime. I was so I said, yeah, I bet you were a wild boar. And it was my little joke to myself. It's the most boring human being I have ever been. And it was like an Uncle Rico type, want to see me throw this?
Put me in.
Yeah, right. But seriously, they could eliminate a body. Absolutely.
So, go ahead, Joe.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No, I wanted to hear what you were going to say.
I was going to say something after you said it.
Okay. Well, I was
say something.
We were talking, because people have been talking the Summer Wells case, and I know that you dropped some audio a couple days ago with Dawn, and there's people with the narrative that show up after the fact, after that they think that they have sort of an idea of what's going on, and they come up with these theories, and I'm not saying that these theories are impossible or you know, that it didn't happen, but just from the standpoint alone of probability, you know, I mean, it's so hard to take any of them seriously, other than, I mean, if there was a story, you know, when you talk like the Michael Vaughn case, you know, how Michael got out and was, you know, everybody's seen the probable cause affidavit now, and you know how he was wandering and things like that. This isn't a place where you can just get out of a fence and wander onto the street. And the road that they live on is extremely isolated. And they're saying, well, you know, she could have got out, she could have, but how does she get out with a house full of people, make her all the way to the road, and then get kidnapped by a stranger? Because if that did happen, if that was a possibility, why would the parents deny that she would ever wander off that far on her own? And how could she get out of a basement that was blocked by a couch? And then she would have to come up through the submarine floor, as you called it, in front of her brothers and walk out the front with her grandmother and mother right there planting flowers or whatever it was that they were doing. That hill is not a short walk, by the way. It's very steep. It's dangerous, especially for a little child. I mean, you said you had to go into 4-wheel drive in your truck just to get up there. And then say she makes it to the bottom, gets hit by a car on accident. Then that person covers up the accident because they don't want to get in trouble. And people say, well, that's a possibility. Her own parents don't even say that that was a possibility. They never brought that up one time. Never. So, you know, and I've just been hearing a lot of, well, this is a probable. You listen to Don. Don says things like she could be in a hotel somewhere, you know, and I won't go into detail, but he says horrific things out loud that this could be happening. And some may say, well, that's a father being, you know, upset or but this is day one stuff, you know, that he's saying that. So I personally, you know, this whole narrative that, you know, that now we're talking about tree trimmers again. All of this is recycled. It's all old. None of it is new. The only thing that happened that was new that anybody can be able to tell you, and whether you want to believe this or not, and I know people want to believe, I know people desperately want to believe that something is happening in the case. And I pray that it is. I hope that it is. But the only thing that we know is that there was a search on Van Hill Road. Everything else is speculation. Everything else is rumor. Everything else is, you know, conjecture. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know if there's soil samples being tested. None of us know that.
I'm curious what Gary thinks, because you came into this, you know, 2 years ago or whatever it was, and this thing's been going on now for 4 years. What's your take?
Well, I you know, when I'm thinking in terms of a profile or a sketch of what went on, I tend to think in the Occam's razor kind of probability way about things. Now, in what I'm about to say, I'm probably in some ways echoing Jensen, you know, the PI that had a tip, you know, about this case that is sort of ignited some of this. I'm going to sound like him because he had posted on Facebook this breakdown of like what tends to be the 3 cases in missing children cases, right? What tends to be the case?
What are the 3 that he says?
So the 3 are the child wandered off. I'm going to dissect them one by one. So the child wandered off. The second being that there was an intention, you know, an abduction, and the third being that the child dies, and I suppose that includes by accident, and then is concealed for whatever reason, or is intentionally killed by a family or whatever and concealed. And so you have to think in terms of probability. Now, to me, first of all, you have to understand that when somebody outside of a house takes a child, now, Chris, I know you're going to agree with this as an expert on the subject. It is generally for sexual assault purposes that somebody is going to take a small female child, right? Would you agree that that would be the prime motivation for most people taking a child?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
Yep.
It would be for sexual reasons. Okay. So let's imagine for a moment the hypothesis that this child somehow gets out of the house and a loving, safe home in which effort is made to keep her from getting out of the home. But she manages, and she wanders up a road, and by complete happenstance, a rare sex offender is driving along and sees this child and picks her up. So I said to Josh the other day, it's like if somebody threw a pebble in the air and it landed at the foot of a rock collector. Right? I throw a stone in the air randomly, and there it falls. And the guy goes, "Wow, I collect pebbles. I go looking for them, and here's one just came flying out of the air." In other words, the probability is enormously against that. If the child wandered onto the road and a person chances upon her, they're probably going to be a good Samaritan or a person who would be concerned, or in other words,
well, first of all, we have to look at the environment.
And you'd have to look at the environment, right?
Okay, so when you say the road, okay, if you come down from their driveway to a road, that's Ben Hill Road.
Right. Tell me about that, because I don't know what it looks like.
I understand. That's why I'm mentioning it.
Yeah.
About another half mile, you hit the main road. So the odds are, okay, if we look at offender risk level here, if there's a car coming on the main road, okay, which you can see from the property on 110 Ben Hill,
right?
Okay, over the back embankment. If a car's coming down that road, then she has to make it either down this huge steep embankment, or down the back side to the shed down on the road. But if she goes out the dog trail, she's only on Ben Hill Road. She's not on the main drive. So,
how far from the house?
Right. So now let's add those probabilities to your theory, to your thought process.
Right. So
if it's an RSL, he has to turn from the main road onto the Ben Hill Road and drive up Ben Hill Road, which is a dead end. And there she is, waiting for him.
So you'd have already absurdity on top of, in terms of probability, low probability on top of low probability. So you'd have to have this very difficult process of getting out there, and then just randomly a person who almost certainly would have to be a sex offender picks her up to take her off somewhere okay. So that's already strange. Then you have another hypothesis I've heard. Hypothesis is that she wanders up the road and some tree trimmers accidentally kill her. Okay, and decide they have to conceal it. Okay, so the problem I have with this
Let's stop.
Yeah, right?
That's the main road. So
okay,
she has to go down the cliff almost to meet the tree trimmers.
You mean the dog trail?
No, the dog trail comes out on Ben Hill.
Right.
The tree trimmers are on the main drag.
Gotcha.
Clearing off the power lines. Okay. And watch the video where I said, "Oh, wow, look, you can see them right there. You can see the main road right there." I stood right there with Candace and pointed it out. And so again, now if we're going to put that into the scenario here, then Summer has a way of getting into a position whereby she could be harmed. But go ahead.
So, but let's say for a moment we were to entertain that, we do a thought experiment about this. So you'd have a bunch of guys. Now, I don't think a tree trimming team is going to be very small, right? I mean, what are you going to have? 4 or 5 people at least would have to be there, correct?
Yeah, a truck or two.
Okay. So if you had any one of them that wasn't a psychopath or that responded to the idea of there being a reward offered or whatever, somebody is going to talk. Somebody is going to say, yeah, my boss said, or somebody said to hide this. There was an accident. We decided to go. It's hard to believe that everybody would, in a cohesive way, keep that a secret or not tell, especially if there's a reward. There isn't very much to keep.
Especially if you're going to go to prison.
Yeah, or their conscience would bother them or something, and they would say, just don't tell anyone that I'm the one who said it, that kind of thing. So that, to me, that's highly improbable too. So you take that off the table. So then you have the question of, could it be that someone came into the house to abduct her? Well, whoever would do such a thing would probably have to be a local.
Well, what would be the MO to go into that house? You've watched the video.
To take the child for sexual purposes, and they would have to be a local who knew that house, the comings and the dogs.
There's nobody going into that house to do a burglary. You can forget it.
But I'm saying what are
you going to do? Steal a pack of toilet paper?
No, but as a thought experiment, if you were going to, you'd have to. I mean, I understand the dogs didn't even. I mean, you have to be somebody who was a local, right? There's a local who would have to do it, and there would probably be somebody with a history of such offenses to be bold enough to do it. And wasn't it in the daytime?
Yes.
So,
oh my God, I keep moving the whatever video he puts up. What the video that he put up, I take it down, and then it takes him down too, and I have no idea why.
Oh, that's okay. He'll be right back. You said.
I'm sorry, Chris. Every time I remove the video,
no worries. I was going to say, what the heck keeps happening in the video?
That's okay.
It was in the daytime.
But so daytime would be very bold. Somebody who was very comfortable. Somebody, so that already is a strange story. Now, as I understand it, the door that leads to that kind of oubliette, that dungeon where that kid was living, wasn't it blocked where Summer was living, where her room was? Wasn't it blocked at that time by a large couch?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so what is this idea that an offender comes and manages to get in there through the couch and take the child in broad daylight without dogs barking, without anybody knowing, and just sneaks up? I mean, it's odd. That's an odd story, isn't it? And why would there be no local offender who's on the registry that anybody even suspects? Or it's a strange story.
I mean, it looks like a lot of stuff to steal here, right?
Right. And there was no sign of robbery.
I mean, if you're a tweaker,
how could you tell?
If you're a tweaker, this is like heaven. Okay.
Yeah,
because there's so many things you can take apart here. Toasters, bicycles, you name it, it's all here. Okay. But I mean, this is not complicated. Seriously, right? Gary, Josh, you guys both know this. Okay, down this hill, look at this hill here. And in this video here, I'm saying, oh, well, way down there is the road. Okay, it's about 2 clicks down the road, down that hill. So let's hypothesize. Summer runs down that hill. Now she's on the main road, and a 290 is driving by coincidentally. Oh, look at that, a 5-year-old. Okay, perfect. Let's go. Get in my car. She's gone. Okay, scenario number 2. Wow, this looks like a great place to break into. Oh, wait a minute. It's a shack. Okay. And, oh, by the way, look at this trailer over here. I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff here. Let's steal all the stuff in the front lawn and forget about the 13, 14 dogs barking. They all know me because I'm up here to steal, this little red bucket here with all of the flowers and all the other crap. Okay.
Right. Absurd.
And if anybody believes that's even a theory, okay, needs to get out of the business.
Well, and then the third one, leaving the house and then being accidentally killed and concealed by a whole team of, tree trimmers is also very difficult to fathom.
Okay, let's stop for a second. Josh, stop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Somehow there's a burglar inside this house.
Who doesn't steal?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Right. Okay.
Okay. He's in the house. He's in the house. What kind of burglar is in this house? Let's talk about burglars, because I've arrested hundreds of them.
There. Yeah.
If I arrested a guy out of this house, number one, he's not going to have any teeth. Okay. Number two, he's going to smell like, shake and steak. Okay. And he's probably living under the house as a whole.
Shake and steak.
Whatever that place is. You know what I'm talking about. It's going to smell like the old fries. Okay?
Oh.
And, just do the math. Okay. First of all, this place doesn't even have stairs. That is a scaffolding going up to the front door. And when you go into it, okay, it even becomes worse. Okay. It becomes worse. Everything starts to go downhill rapidly. And, for people to think, oh yeah, well, he or she was waiting inside and, it's an interrupted burglary and all this other stuff. No, it's not. No, come on. We're doing a disservice to this child by confusing what the reality is. The reality here is mom was the last person to see her along with the grandmother, maybe the dad. Those are the last three people to see Summer Wells. Can somebody give me any evidence that they were not the last three people? Anybody?
I have no idea.
Okay, by interjecting these third world concepts, okay, that this was even a target for a career criminal to come into and steal whatever's in this house or something, and then all of a sudden Summer's there, and now he turns into a predatorial behavior,
Right.
that takes her out of the house.
Right.
Okay, out of the back door.
Right. But
You know
didn't
what?
go looking for her. She just happens to be there.
Huh?
Like, in other words, person goes in there to steal, discovers a child, and suddenly engages in sexual predatory behavior, takes the child off for what would almost certainly be that reason, unless it's to sell her. I mean, the idea of this is...
Well, what so
Really?
he's waiting for her to come home to sell her.
No, it's totally improbable. It makes no sense. It's unfathomably improbable.
Right. And
Yeah, but it makes people that act like they know what they're talking about. It fools the people that are looking for information about this situation, and it's totally misguided by their own thoughts or fantasies or crazy ideas. The fact that anybody would to show up to rob this house, it gets interrupted, and then, oh well, I'm going to take the little girl that's down in the basement. Nobody's going to see me do this. And nobody sees anything. It's not only improbable, it's impossible.
Well,
Yes,
think about, okay, let's back up just for a second, right? To your point. I didn't mean to interrupt, Gary.
No. You
Okay.
have to. Otherwise you'll
Okay,
never-
as we're watching this video right now,
Mhm.
according to mom, and by the way, mother's in the house right now.
Mhm.
Mom's in the house with the three boys.
Mhm.
Okay, in her head. Okay, she's in the house right now doing whatever she's going to do. I don't know what she was doing, but Candace is in that house right now as we're looking at this. Okay, now she comes out and she has a story. And what's her story? Well, the flower story and all this other stuff. And I walked her over and I watched her go into the house, and I told the three boys, keep an eye on your sister. So that means the three boys were home when the burglar was there. So where did he hide out? Where'd the burglar hide out?
Right.
That's what I want to know.
Problem I have in the Lizzie Borden story.
It's like,
It makes sense, right?
You've got to understand these guys. You have to talk to them, hundreds of them. Okay. And I have, as you know, Gary, I have talked to these guys for years, since 19, whatever it is. Okay.
Yep.
A couple of weekends, not my first rodeo. And the fact that people are confusing this scenario and not keeping it very simple, don't leave the house, not yet, until the authorities come out and say, okay, by the way, we have A, B, C, and D. But I'm gonna guarantee you, it, whoever this is knows that property, knows Dawn, and knows Candace, if it's not them themselves.
Right, exactly right. And I feel like if you look at that, they are, whatever it is that happened, and we don't know the specifics, we don't know every detail. We know that Summer, and there are people in the chat, and not just in the chat, but leave in the comments. They say Summer was seen leaving here, Summer was seen leaving there, Summer was this. We're listening to an eyewitness, a mother, tell us where her daughter was. So if she's lying about it, then she should be in trouble as well. So if Summer wasn't down in the basement like she said she was, and that something happened to where Summer made it to the road and got hurt, and then they go, oh my God, we don't want to get in trouble, so we better cover up what happened, they're still negligent and guilty of all of it. So you can say what you want. Summer was seen going here. Candace,
where was Summer seen going?
People think that because there's that whole thing where they said that she was like seen at the driveway or something like that.
Truck.
Okay. Yeah. And she may have been, right, to your point, Josh.
But if she was, then that means then that makes Candace.
But who's in the truck? Is it Candace in the truck?
Possibly.
Is it Grandis in the truck?
Maybe.
Because it was Grandis's truck that they were driving.
Yeah, I know. And I understand that. And I also say that they refute every opportunity to say, would Summer wander off? No. Where was Summer at? She was in the basement. Do I believe that? Of course not. No, I don't believe it. That's just their cover story. Obviously, she's not in the house anymore. So somebody had to take her out of that house at some point and never bring her back. And if you're telling me that the person that was with her all day, from the moment they got up and toted her around with Grandma and Hunter, is not responsible for her going missing, or at least no more than what she says, well, I mean, I just can't. I can't believe that.
Well, and this is a simple process, right? Josh, keep playing this and let's listen to what Candace says.
Well, hold on.
Oh, wait,
so
Gary,
I
go ahead,
make a quick comment. So what I was going to say earlier is that from a profiling perspective, if this were an outsider, picking this particular place where there's nothing of value, the fact that it's daylight, that it's highly risky, and all these things, the fact that if you're going to take a child for sexual purposes and abduct them rather than luring them, whatever, these are all signs of a disorganized offender. This would be a kind of a person that you wouldn't be surprised if they had schizophrenia or something like that. You would have to be a highly disorganized kind of person to take those kinds of risks and do it in that particular setting and in this particular way. And there's no indication of anybody like that on the radar, a highly conspicuous, local, oddball kind of person who would do such a thing and who would almost certainly have a history of sex offenses. You could also see it in a person with a history of sex offenses who's a hard drinker or a drug addict or something like that. But so the kind of person who would do this, you would picture something like a person who would be kind of disorganized, possibly a drug user or alcoholic with a history of sex offenses. Right? That's the kind of figure that you would picture doing this, right? Wouldn't you say, Chris?
Well, yes. And this is the situation that
Dawn is every one of those things that you just said, by the way.
I'm not saying anything like
saying
that.
it. I
I don't want to
I'm
get,
saying it.
I am going to say, you know, and I know, Josh, you always make fun. How long will it take before I mention Sherlock Holmes? But remember what Sherlock Holmes said. When you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. If you've eliminated as probable all the other outside explanations, and there isn't even any proof that the kid ever even left the house, what does that leave?
Well, what it leaves is who had access to the house,
Exactly.
who had access to the property.
The house itself.
And now to answer that question is very clear. There are enough oddballs, okay, that could fit a scenario that would have access to that house. I mean, just look at the house.
Inside or outside of the house?
Both. Because look at the house as a whole. Okay. Look at the property as a whole. Don in that call says, yeah, people go up that road to go cop dope. And he mentions, you know, Fred Hill. And then he's like, well, I don't want to throw Fred under the bus, you know, or anything like that, you know. And then it's like, okay, then why'd you talk about him? You know, you already did. You threw him under the bus. Okay. And it's all of this out here. Okay. So I keep circling back to it with him, you know, hey, well, wait a minute. What about this? What about this? And by the way, I was there for 3 days. Okay. And I did a behavioral assessment in case this thing ever go cold, that one of these days, if it ever went cold and they didn't get this person, I'm going to do it personally. Okay. And with the Cold Case Foundation. And this whole situation is so easy. Look at the risk assessment just of the suspect.
Which is what I was getting at, Chris, with the in that little profile. I agree. That's what we have to look at. The risk that was taken.
Yes, right. But I mean, right, to your point, but if we just step into this environment for a moment, just step into the environment that day. And by the way, the first day I got there, I interviewed the first responders, some of the first responders that were there within an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to them. They showed me pictures. Okay. Now I'm not going to tell you who they are. I'm not going to throw them under the bus or anything like that.
I've seen those pictures.
Right. I may have showed Josh a while ago. Okay.
I don't know if I saw yours, but I saw some.
There wasn't a person up there that said, you know, the DLR, this doesn't look right.
They were throwing a football around.
Yeah, the kids were. There's not a person up on that property, the first responders, that said, you know what? I think some guy was breaking into the house here and took Summer. Okay. No, that's crazy talk. And it's not, it's the kind of stuff that throws an investigation, you know, into left field. And that's why you get these coffee cups over here that say McBrock pile, because there's a resource that has to run that garbage down. Okay. The agency has to say to somebody, okay, hey, Frank, yeah, you're chasing all of this stuff over here while we're working over here at and let's use Leticia Hernandez for an example.
Oh, yeah.
You know, she was seen going across the United States at least 300 times.
Right.
You know who worked those 300 leads? You're talking to them.
Okay? Mick
Rockpile. And then simultaneously, what the public didn't know is 3 doors down is a registered RSO by the name of Robert Romero, who is actually the suspect. But the public thought we were chasing, you know, Leticia across the United States. Okay. A year and a half later, or a couple of months later, her skull is found. Okay. I found her clothing in the trees and her underwear.
Mm-hmm.
The suspect had discarded it out of a window.
Okay. I hate that story, that case. It breaks my heart.
But this is the same problem here. Only with social media. Back then, we didn't have social media. Okay. But today, we have social media. And all of this other mishigash, okay, the cops don't mind it, but what they do is unfortunately, and we've heard Lawson and others saying, look, if it's a credible tip, give it to us. But if it's not, then all it's going to do is burn up resources. And we don't have a lot of resources. They don't. Okay? We had a lot of resources in Southern California. We had a lot of resources. And that's where the FBI comes in. Okay. And so one of the things I think with this new, up the street kind of tip it could be legit. Who knows? I don't know. Okay. But what I do know, standing there on that property with Mom, is what she said. Josh, play it. And here's what she said.
Oh, she could have even. There's a million possibilities here.
Yeah, there's
down there, and there's the road down there.
Yeah, that's the road. And that's my mom's house.
Okay.
Like literally, it's.
And this right here.
Usually, you can see the road because they have went through here and mowed and took down a bunch of stuff away from the power lines.
Okay.
But usually, it's full up. You can't even see the road.
That day, though, how was it?
Guess what? She's talking about the tree trimmers.
Yes, she is.
She, they cut down, took some stuff away from the power lines. So she's visualizing what was happening around her property that day. And listen to what she says, because I asked her.
Was it full up?
They actually, that day and a few days prior to that, they were working on this.
Okay.
Okay, stop.
So I've even come to a conclusion maybe.
A few days prior to that and that day, they were working on it down there. Okay. Can somebody tell me when Summer got hit by a truck? They had 3 days to do it.
Yeah. Which day?
Okay. Guess what? That's probably not what happened. Okay. Probably not what happened with the tree trimmers.
And Chris, also when you say, the possibilities, it could be a lot of things. She immediately goes, thousands of possibilities.
Somebody's asking Purple Turtle, do I think she wasn't lying? Of course I did. She almost copped out to me down at the water hole. I know that for a fact. Okay. I made a mistake by turning off the camera because I wanted to give her a little dignity. And if she was going to cop out, I didn't want that, to be something that I would play later on YouTube. That wasn't going to happen. So I shut it down. But when we turned it back on, you saw her reaction, and she was this close to telling us something. And I don't know what that something is. Only Candace knows what that something is. But her something this day was her story about the last time she saw her daughter. She is the last person, not a burglar, that saw Summer Wells alive. Listen to what she said.
One of them people have snatched it.
Oh, interesting.
Because they were all the way up here.
Yeah, I see those, the path down there. I see the tracks down there.
Yep.
You're over there.
And they were all the way up here to my light pole.
Okay. And you told TBI all this, right?
I told TBI this, yes.
Okay. And
shout out to Trev in the chat. And he says over the first 3 years, this case averaged almost 5.5 tips per day, 6,500 over 3 years. Absolutely agree. There's been a lot of nonsense coming from left field. And not only that, and Trevor, thank you so much. It's good to see you as well. Just stop with the cryptic stuff. It's enough. There's so much cryptic talk, online and stuff. It just is so, it's just disingenuous.
yeah, I can see the cars going by. That is not far from your property.
Mm-mm.
Is there a holler down there? I mean, is there a river of some sort?
The creek runs all the way around the property.
And how deep is a creek?
Did you say hold on?
No, I'm sorry. It's
okay. Just so
she's
it's like
talking
an
about
inch.
where they were working.
You'd be lucky to get.
Yeah.
Okay,
wet enough
so,
to do anything.
well,
Okay.
first of all, let's
All right,
let's
so
also
let's
make a
say the
note here
tracks
from
down
the
there.
top for
Yep.
a second. Okay?
Sorry, your
No,
voice.
you're cool, bro. First of all, let's think about the layout here. The tree trimmers are on this side of the property, down.
Mm-hmm.
The dog trail's the opposite side of the property. So which one is it? Did Summer go out this way, or did she go out that way?
That's a really interesting point, Chris. And I would add as an additional point to think about that if somebody had been casing this place and watching this kid, although I think they were probably pretty disorganized, but if they were the type that was watching, if this person exists, wouldn't it have made more sense to take her at school than to take her at home?
Well, yeah, I mean, why are you going? I've never ever talked to
I'm just making the point that just trying to beat over the head how silly it is to think that you even have to leave this to understand what probably, but I don't want to cast any aspersions on anybody,
No.
but the thing is, Chris, what gets complicated is, let's just as a thought experiment say this was something that happened within the circle of the, in that house. What would be the reason for it?
If say it again, Gary. What's the question?
Let's say she is killed within that house.
All right.
Okay. What would be the motive?
Well, there could be a couple of things. I mean, one.
I'm sure we're thinking similarly.
Well, I mean, it could be an accident that,
Sure.
and they could have said, "Oops, we got to cover it up." Okay.
What
It
kind
could
of
be-
accident?
Huh?
What kind of accident?
Anything. She could have fallen down those stairs inside of that house.
Right.
Have you?
Okay.
I mean, that stairwell is very steep and it's very dangerous.
Right. Now let me be clear.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything about these particular people or casting any. I'm just talking generally from the true crime, forensic perspective.
Correct.
Another possibility is that you are either disciplining or assaulting a child, and they die from the
That's true,
assumption of
too.
force.
That's possible.
Okay. Another possibility is that you eliminate the child because they could talk or their body has evidence on it of something, and you're concerned about that. That's another possibility. Correct?
Yep. And there's school coming up. There's medical exams that need to happen. Child Protective Service has already been involved. They were supposed to show up, and take a look at the kids, yada yada. The school system. It's interesting that the photograph that she's in the back of the car or whenever that was taken, Don tells us that clothing that she was wearing is what she was going to wear to kindergarten.
So she's about to start school how many days after she vanishes?
Well, it was June, so I think it starts in it was like a month or so, month and a half.
Yeah, she was registered for kindergarten.
That's what Candace says.
But she was going
That's what she
to go soon. In other words, and it was not long after that she was going to start school.
Right, and the last picture she's ever in, if it's the last picture, is the clothing that she was going to wear to kindergarten.
Okay, I think that's exceedingly important. And then another possibility which is less common that we've heard about is that someone within the home sells or gives the kid away to some kind of perverted offender or for drugs or drug money or whatever. So there's I think that pretty much runs the gamut of what you see in sort of cases. But the most probable one that you see is that there's an unintended death, but for some reason you feel compelled to conceal it, or that you have eliminated the child for some reason because they're a witness or because they're in, there's some other you eliminate the child because it is in elimination murder, for example, which is a term I've coined. I can tell you that an aspect of that is almost invariably the unsophisticated cover story that an outside person did it, right? Because you're not dealing with people that are particularly clever. They tend to come up with absurd stories. Somebody outside broke in, took the kid, they came in to rob the place, but nothing's robbed, that kind of thing. So those are more common, and the less common is the person is sexually assaulting the kid and they die, right? The child, and they die in the process, or that you sell them or whatever. So, but these are those are the only 4 that I can think of. A fifth possibility that I've heard of in other cases is, let's say one family member does it, like let's say like an accident, like a kid is responsible, and then the parents hide it to protect the younger kid. That kind of, I've heard that kind of story. But basically, Chris, if it's within the house, there's only a limited number of possibilities.
Well, so let's do the family dynamic.
But I'm not going to say anything about what I think happened, because I don't want to cast any aspersions. But I think you guys,
I don't think I know what happened. Personally, I don't know what happened.
And I think that's the respectable way to handle it.
I don't know either.
Right. We don't know. Right.
What we do know is we're still talking about it. Okay. And I believe that Don knows what happens, and Candace knows what happened, and Grandis knows what happened. That's what I believe.
Way better
now,
than
why do I believe that, though?
Right.
That's the bigger question for me. Okay. Because there's been no other evidence that has been substantiated to show that didn't happen that way. Or if there is, then why are they lying so much? Why is Candace going to tell me here in a couple of minutes, which you'll see again, that the last time she saw Summer was when she went in the house? And then she goes in to say, boys, where's your sister? Let's listen to out of her mouth. Why is she lying? What's the reason for that? The mother of a missing 5-year-old.
Well, Chris, it's important that I ask this question, because you know this case far better than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you. Is there any history or evidence of Summer, at least in terms of accusation, having been sexually assaulted?
Well, let me give you that answer in a very clear understanding. Okay. Grandis, her grandmother. Okay. The grandmother's brother is ranked either the top 5 sex offenders in the state of Wisconsin.
Grandis's grandfather?
No, Grandis's brother.
Grandis's brother. Excuse me, I misheard you. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they called him the boogeyman.
Disturbing. Mm-hmm.
He was locked up in their equivalent to a Tuscadero.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's right on that lane. Are you with me?
Got you so far.
Yeah, because we're not done.
Yeah.
We're not
okay.
done.
Now we look at Summer's father, Don. Okay. Prison 3 times. His son is an RSO in the state of Utah. Okay. Like
this is all totally confirmed, publicly available.
Yes.
you can go Google him right now.
He actually just got in trouble not that long ago for not re-registering.
Oh, I see. I got it.
No, he's on the registry. He is a sex offender, and so is Warren, I believe, is his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean that there are people on the registry in that house?
In the family.
In the family, but I don't know. We don't know who was in the house and stuff. But
okay, got it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, and now you when you listen to the phone call that I just put up on Sunday, and the reason I put it up on Sunday is not because I wanted to retread it. I wanted everybody to hear him again say what he says. Okay, you know what his last memory is? Summer's foot underneath him, touching him.
Mm-hmm.
She slept with him, according to father, for 5 years, every single night.
Well, there are other strange behaviors like bathing together.
Yes, they showered. Yes, he showered.
There's all kinds of stuff, Gary. Okay. Right? Now, And by the way, this is the same guy that admitted to essaying his stepsisters.
Or self-confessed that they were minors.
Correct.
Yes.
Self-confessed
He
publicly.
was 19 and they were 12.
He's admitted it on this show. He's admitted it to Chris,
He
but
admitted it to Utah, to
admitted
the
it to Utah.
authorities.
But every time he does, he spins it in a way, he spins it in a way that, well, he was the victim. He was taken advantage of at 12 by a 5-year-old.
Right.
Right. And one of those 3 times in jail, they were related to these sex
And
offenders.
Utah investigated them and they could not hook him up because the statute of limitations had expired.
Correct.
But they interviewed him in jail.
And I got it.
when
And
he
did Child
was in
Protective
custody.
Services ever come to that house because
They
of
took their kids away.
were there accusations of sexual assault against the
We don't know.
Okay. And as far as Summer is concerned, do we know
I
what
mean,
they're
we don't know.
Well, she disappeared
She disappeared.
when they
I
were
see.
supposed to come. Again, CPS was coming back to do a follow-up. And by the way, they didn't just take the children. The state took their parental rights away and put them into foster care, and they lost full custody of their children forever.
And no contact.
No contact.
And that is an extreme step to take, because children that are taken from their parents aren't automatically completely severed from them. They still have visitation rights sometimes, phone calls, video chats, or things like that. The state said you can't talk to them at all. And Don lost his shit over it and was trying to talk to his oldest son. This is true because okay, if you don't believe it's true, then Don's a liar, but I believe he's telling the truth here. He was upset because he was trying to talk to his son, and they said, no, and then that's when all communication after he pulled that had stopped. They said, no more. You can't be around them at all.
And it gets better. Candace beat one of her children so bad, the state took that child away from a separate relationship, and she has brain damage to this day.
Oh, it's the son that has the brain damage.
The son. Right.
And that's also public knowledge established beyond it.
Oh, it's all been established as fact.
Okay. So how did they wind up able to have Summer, and why was she in such a deplorable
Different states.
situation?
They're state hoppers.
They kept moving. Don also has a past of burglary, breaking in, and stealing women's underwear.
So if I'm understanding where your thoughts are going here, and I'm not saying this, I'm only saying that I think I'm reading what you're suggesting. It sounds like the implication is that there would have been a motive for not wanting something to be discovered that was happening to an additional child because
Possible.
it could lead to serious legal repercussions. Is that the idea?
I don't know. Here's what I do know. Okay.
Right. I'm not saying it. I'm just curious if that's what's being
I'm
suggested.
with you. Here's what I do know. One of the very first interviews that Don ever gives
Mhm.
is he sees his daughter in a basement being tortured and or being hurt.
I see. This is a depressing story.
And then he says,
Jesus.
but I'll see her in the resurrection.
I see.
And
Another way
this
of implying that she's deceased.
yeah. So how do we go from all of that, from the mouth of the salesman, for lack of a better term, to, yeah, it's a burglary gone wrong potentially as a possibility. Are you serious? Not you. I mean, but just in general, that's what's floating around sometimes.
Well, because I think, Chris, the problem is the absence of a body.
Well,
Yeah.
the problem is they're trying to prescribe before they diagnose.
I see what you're saying. Yes, I understand.
You don't say, yeah, that guy's got cancer here. Take 4 of these things. Well, how do you know that? We don't have an MRI.
Right. Right.
And that's what this case has been built on. Okay. This whole thing has been built on this, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And so you got to ask yourself, okay, what's the real reason here? Really, what is it about summer, or is it about people just talking about summer? And people say to me all the time, well, you do a lot of things about summer. Yeah, you're right. I do. Okay. And I do a lot of things about a lot of missing children. People were like, well, what do you know about this? What do you know about that? And I'm like, you know what? We're out here for the kids. Figure it out.
Well, and it's not like you haven't been doing that for 35, 40 years too.
Well, you know what? I think Michael Vaughn will speak for himself. That's the most recent one. And people know, because I was at the press conference. I was embedded with that department for 4 months, working with them every single day. Gary knows. Okay. And so, they were a year and a half into the investigation when I got involved in it with them. I can't talk about it any further than that. It will come out. And there's other cases that I'm involved in right now that nobody knows about. But they will, at some point, they'll know. Okay. And this case here, after this case is solved, I'm going to go after Sebastian Rogers. And we're going to figure that one out. Okay. Because I haven't left the house there either. And I'm not saying, hey, look at me. It's not about me. It's about listening to the mother of a missing 5-year-old little girl and listen to her story. Josh, let's keep moving so people can hear it again.
Over there.
And they were all the way up here to my light pole.
Okay. And you told TBI all this, right?
I told TBI this, yes.
Okay. And yeah, I can see the cars going by. That is not far from your property.
Mm-mm.
Is there a holler down there? I mean, is there a river of some sort?
The creek runs all the way around the property.
And how deep is a creek? Okay, just so it's like an inch, inch or two. Okay.
You'd be lucky to get wet enough to do anything.
Okay. All right, so let's pick it up from where, and I'm going to just use this little one. Is that okay? Fine. Okay, so from when you got home, now she's leaning.
My mom's truck parks here.
Okay, your mom's truck's right here. Yes. Okay, so she's leaning against the milk. Is she sleeping?
She was sleeping, yes.
Okay. From exhaustion from that day?
Yes, she was. Where I woke her up early, and she usually sleeps until 9, 10, even 12 o'clock if I let her.
Okay. How did the milk bottles get rearranged? Hunter said he had them on the floor, and then he put them next to him.
They weren't. No.
Okay, so walk me through that.
When we dropped them off, they were actually still on his lap.
Okay.
And he put them on the other side of Summer.
Okay. So he reached over?
Yeah, he set them over there by that. What's a black tote she had in there.
Okay. Where's that tote at?
I think actually my mom's got it still in her truck. It's got a bunch of crafts and stuff in it.
Okay. Got it. And now from when you pulled up, did she just fall asleep next to that?
She fell asleep, I'd say maybe 5 minutes on the road.
Okay. Got it. And then, so walk me through, you get home, you take the groceries inside. Is Don home, by the way?
No, he's not.
Okay.
Actually, I parked the truck and I opened both doors. It's really hard because this lawnmower his. But I opened the doors up and I shook her. I said, wake up, we're at home. She jumped right up.
Okay.
Like nothing.
To me, and I got to stop there because I've always found that to be such an over explanation of the child getting out of the car. I've woken up 5-year-olds out when my kids were young, and we would do something like that. I'd never had a child jump right up that was passed out from a long day of swimming or whatever. And the fact that she's, so adamant, she jumped right up like nothing. Like, what do you mean like nothing? You like it was just
I unbuckled her. And
well, by the way,
to your point, okay, Josh, that's a great point. But what you learn is you just let them lie.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I mean,
all day long. Yeah, you want to tell me that? That's fine.
Right?
Let it go. I mean, now 4 years later, that doesn't make any sense, does it?
No.
Well, she's going to have to face this one day. If it turns out that she knows more than what she was saying on this particular video. Okay. Just always remember, lies are really good evidence. Okay. And I hear that, people are talking about this Randy now, is it Randy Morgan? That guy who was staying in the trailer up on the property. These are things that people think I don't know. Okay. I've known this stuff for a long time. I just don't talk about it in public. But now that his name's even surfacing, now they're cross-referencing, what Hunter was saying. It's Andy, well, maybe no, that's Randy, and Randy had a red truck and all this other stuff. Okay. Well, okay, fine. The authorities will figure that out. I'm concerned about what she's saying right now. And if she's lying and she knows about this other stuff, Randy, then guess what? She's involved. It's that simple.
Yeah, and involved also if she made it down to the road somehow and covered up if something happened.
Right. But why is she involved then? Why do I say that? Why do I make a statement like that? Because she's going to put her daughter into that house as the last person that ever saw her. And now they have to do the curly shuffle about how Randy got her somehow. How did Randy show up on the property and or at the bottom of the road, okay, and snatch Summer? Because Candace has her within 10 minutes. That's the most. Are we to suppose that he came up the dog trail and went into that basement with the one-way glass that you can't see through and knew she was going to be down there with the blue couch in front of the door? Did he know she was going to be down there? I don't know. Why didn't Don pull up to the property and say, "Where's my daughter? What are you guys doing here? What's going on?" No, he went to the shed. Why? Because I knew she was gone. And I told him she was gone. She got gone.
Got gone. That was her thing.
Imagine telling that to the authorities and they're going, okay, so let me get this right. You just drove here 40 miles from Jonesboro. You've been on, Messenger with your wife, and you're saying you're having Wi-Fi problems, but somehow Messenger works. You show up and you don't come up to the top of the property. You would say you were the first one here. Okay. You went down to the shed. Yeah. And that's where you saw your boys running around the creek. Yeah. Well, guess what? The cops were the first one there. He pulled up when the police were already there. That's a lie. I'm going to go through one day and just tag all of these. Well, the authorities will do it. Okay. But here, this is important to understand because mom is going to put that baby in that house. And as soon as she does that, it's over.
Okay.
Actually, I parked the truck and I opened both doors. It's really hard because this lawnmower his. But I opened the doors up and I shook her. I said, "Wake up, we're at home." She jumped right up.
Okay.
Like nothing. I unbuckled her and I said, "Come on." I said, "Mom, I'll be right back." Well, went in there and got the boys.
So you're
and they were
taking
sitting on the table.
your swallow.
And I said, "Come on, let's get the groceries out."
And she's thinking about what she's going to say. She's making the story up out on the fly. It's beautiful. Keep going.
And
And
all that.
and this is her. That's her
That's
swing.
her swing right there.
Come show me her swing. Why is this? And who's this?
That is Smoking Boots. That's my boy's cat.
And how many dogs do you have here on the property? About.
Honestly, I don't know because people just keep dropping them off.
Hi. I know. Okay. Okay. Sorry. So this is her swing.
That's her swing.
This is her playground.
Yep.
And she loved this area. Boy, I'm looking at this, and this terrain, Candace, just strikes me as being so dense and just. Is that what they say, the dog trail? Where's?
What's that?
How would a suspect know, Gary? Down this hill now is Ben Hill. You've got on the other hill the tree trimmers. On this side, you've got the red truck story.
Oh, there's no question that if somebody, this person had to be extremely familiar with this area. There's no, you know what I mean? You'd have to be meticulously aware of these little, right?
Yeah. And Candace is going to make it a point to tell me across the holler over there, about a mile away, is where an RSO lives. Listen to her.
Actually,
This
makes
dog trail thing that
I'm not sure, honestly.
there's so many of them.
The dogs go in every different.
Yeah, I saw the dogs came out of the
Yeah,
woods as
dude.
we were pulling up.
Yeah,
See,
they do that all the
You're from
time.
that. That's
Okay.
one of the idiosyncrasies
That actually-
here that
that-
nobody catches.
Hmm.
Don says that's the dog trail. Candace doesn't agree with him. She says that she actually told me that's the trail and she says it there. Well, the dogs just come out of the woods. And in another video you guys have probably heard, she says that's where they used to ride the motorcycles, the boys down there, and they come around and then they come back up.
Yeah.
And there's one video where Summer is chasing them from the opposite direction, okay, going back down that way, and then they come up the dog trail, quote unquote, the dog trail. Okay. But Candace is like, well, that's not really the dog trail. It's where all the dogs just come out of the woods. Okay. And by the way, Gary, at that time, there were like 13 to 15 dogs on the property when I pulled up. Okay. So again, we go to this, hey, this guy's just waiting in
right
the house
there.
for Summer to show up.
Here, hold on 1 second.
Oops, sorry about that.
No, it's
Were they
okay.
barking at the tree trim?
Listen to him.
You don't
They
think that
They'd be
you don't,
barking at the tree trimmers, obviously, right? If they were
they'll bark at anybody.
Yeah,
Right.
they're barking at
They
me.
don't know. If they
And-
don't know you, then this is what they're doing. Right. Well, Dawn says that the day that Summer went missing, all dogs were gone. There were he don't know where they went. Sometimes they just go off somewhere. Apparently, I don't know. They go to the casino or maybe TGI Fridays. I don't know. But he said that they weren't there.
I went to the doghouse.
Extra sound there, don't they?
That's my old truck, by the way.
It's nice.
I sold it.
But there seems to be, just to be clear about something, and again, not casting aspersions, just
No,
asking
no.
questions. If this is a dishonest story, there seems to be a very gallant effort to paint the picture of having been non-negligent.
Of course.
Like I said to the boys, keep an eye on that kind of thing. It's like going out of your way because you don't want to look like you didn't have an eye on the child, or you're aware of where the danger is, or that's where the sex offender lives, and that's where it paints the opposite picture.
Right.
Right. And that's the kind of thing that feels like, if this isn't true, then it would be an effort to externalize blame, to project blame for precisely what it is that you feel you're going to be accused of. Now, I can't say that's what's going on, but it's an interesting thing to think about.
Well, and what else is interesting to dovetail into your thought is there could have been a bunch of people up on that property that day. It could have been Dawn. It could have been her. It could have been Candace. It could have been all these other players. Okay. And is it possible that one of these other people, could have taken her from the property that day? Yes, but not without the knowledge of these parents, to your point, because they are watching her like a hawk. This is the girl in Don's life. And when you listen to what he says, I don't understand why she loved me so much. Nobody has ever loved me that much, ever. In fact, and then he says, where did she sleep, Dawn? Oh, every night with me. Well, for how long? Her whole life, 5 years. 5 years. So your daughter's been sleeping with you when you're married every single night for 5 years. Yes. Okay. And I didn't follow up. I didn't ask him because I didn't want to ask him. Well, where did Candace sleep? Well, she would sleep sometimes, through various conversations throughout the years, right, Josh?
Yeah.
Sometimes she'd be next to us and Summer would be right between us. And we tried to get her into the other room, which is next door.
He told me Candace would pass out upstairs sometimes too.
Yeah, exactly.
Not make it down there, but he always seemed to.
And, when we first said that years ago, that, that's just not right. That, it's okay for a child to sleep with their parents every once in a while. That happens. That's part of growing up, right?
Sure.
I've raised 4 children. That happens. No big deal. Get in here. I'll comfort you, making sure you're okay. That's not a problem. But every night for 5 years?
And usually, in my experience, you'd get in bed with both parents.
Right. And it's like,
between them or something.
or the dad sleeps on the blankets. Okay. Well, the kid's under the blankets.
It's
Okay.
complete. Let's just
There's
be
a
honest.
barrier.
Completely inappropriate
Exactly.
for that to be happening. And I remember a long time ago, my grandmother had 5 girls, 5 daughters. And I remember bringing this up to her, and she said, I would never let their father past a certain age bathe them.
No.
I just wouldn't. It wasn't that she didn't trust him. It wasn't that he was some pervert. That's just the way it is. It's proper, for a young girl to not, it doesn't make any sense. It's actually disturbing, to be honest.
And that's a great question, Miss Sharon. We don't know that answer, do we? But what we do know is mom is putting her into the house. And that's right now what everybody has to go off of, right? The authorities, and they can sort that through stuff out later after they have passed the house. And I guarantee you, not a single detective worth their salt has left that house. Not one. Okay. Because listen, Gary, I know you haven't had the luxury of, having all the study that Josh and I have, and the audience, quite frankly, because everybody's been invested in this case. But listen how she's trying to, sell the house like a realtor.
And I see you. I'll say this. It's not inappropriate for a father to bathe a female child. It is inappropriate for a father to bathe with a female child.
Concur. Unless it's an infant, brand new birth, right. And then you're not going to sit in a tub with that child. That ain't going to happen.
Her job.
What?
Okay.
We walked over here and we transplanted these cactuses from the little pots that they were in. And transplanted these ones here into this bigger pot and that one into that bigger pot. And she took the rocks that we've gotten from different gem mines when we went up to Gatlinburg and stuff.
Okay.
And she's the one that spreaded all the rocks around in here. And then she put her puppies in here. She wanted Chase in there,
Okay.
That was cool.
Where are those puppies now?
What do you mean?
Oh, the little puppies. Her ruins.
Yeah, these little.
Oh, yeah, those little guys. Oh, that's Paw Patrol.
Yep.
Hold on.
Sorry. Yeah, that's the police one.
Yep, that's Chase. He's always on the case.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I see another one over here.
She put him in there. Yeah, you're on the cactus.
Okay. Don't take those out, okay?
No, I leave them right there.
I know.
And then we went in my mom's way. We can't get in there.
Yeah, that's fine. Went in there.
We went in there and got some candy and stuff she gets from grandma.
Okay.
And I said, well, I'm going to go back over to the house. She wanted to go back, so I said I'd go back.
And in the chat, somebody said, don't stereotype hillbillies. By the way, we're not stereotyping anybody. I haven't said one word about anybody being a hillbilly, nor has Chris, nor has Dr. Gary. So to come in with these ignorant statements just in the chat is kind of annoying. And it's just not what's happening. Okay, so if you feel that we're stereotyping, then maybe you should not think in stereotypes.
Okay.
I didn't know she was a hillbilly.
I don't know. They're not. They're not actually hillbillies. It's just such a stupid thing.
You ever been to Mississippi?
What's that?
You want to see poverty? Go to Mississippi. Go to New Orleans. You'll see poverty.
Like literally walked right in here where I could see the boys on the kitchen table.
Got them.
And I watched her walk in there. And afterwards, when she was already in there,
okay, stop.
I walked over and said, quiet.
You just heard her. Where does she watch Summer go?
Let's do it again.
He went there in here where I could hear. I go back,
Okay.
And I said, well, I'm going to go back over to the house. She wanted to go back, so I said I'd go back,
Okay.
And I brought her. I literally walked over to here. Like literally walked right in here where I could see the boys. And
look how close that is, by the way.
She walked her. Now, okay.
It's like how she's escorting this 5-year-old.
She's
a prudent mother.
into the house. Okay, into the house. Are we to believe that if the 5-year-old was running around the property, that this mother, according to how she's projecting it, would not have paid attention to where her daughter was on the property? Is that what we're to believe here as a possibility? And she's not only adding Summer into the conversation. She says she can see the 3 boys as well. She sees all 4 of her kids in this conversation. Okay, all 4 of them. 3 of them are in the house, and the 4th one is going into the house. That is her final statement. Door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3.
Well, there's something else that's bothering me, and I want to be careful because people have different ways of dealing with tragedy and so forth. But the other day, without getting into detail, I spoke to somebody who had not a patient, just a person out in the world, who had a memory of many years ago having had their child accidentally slip away from them in a public place. And for about 10, 15 minutes, thinking they were never going to see the child again, and then finding the child. And when they described that, even though it was a very long time ago, they were still anxious, shaking, upset, even just at the thought, the memory of this loss of their child for a few minutes, the terror of this. I guess what I'm getting at is, if somebody has lost their child and is talking to somebody that they see as potentially a helper in getting to the bottom of what happened and so forth, what you would generally see, although I don't know, people have different ways of dealing with trauma and so forth, is they would have an affect that suggested walking through this is very scary, it's devastating, it's depressing, it's horrifying. My child is missing. I'm walking around with somebody associated with law enforcement that might be able to help here. And you'd see different kind of body language and kind of emotion. This is a very flat, rote presentation. Sounds almost like reading a script. And that, to me, is strange. Although, again, it could be that some people just have this kind of flat, strange way of experiencing things. But it is odd because there's nothing about it that suggests I desperately want you to help me, and these facts are horrifying me. Do you feel that also, that it's kind of blunt?
That's a great point. You know what? But from an investigative analysis aspect, also, you know what really feels odd? She's got a sister that's missing that just vanished, and she her career path is carnival. Okay, I don't know if she's guessing the weight of the yak lady or what her career path is. Okay, however, okay, she's a barker at a carnival. Okay?
Oh, really? Interesting.
And now she also has 2 children that she has seriously injured in the past. Okay. And she's married. Her uncle is one of the most dangerous RSOs in the state of Wisconsin. Okay. So the apples aren't falling even from a tree. They already hit the ground. Okay. And people are coming by and picking up the apple and taking a bite and go, yeah, but she could still be, okay, well, be what? At this point, to your point, it is just monotone on, hey, by the way, over here is, Smoking Boots, the little kitty. Okay.
Very cute, by the way.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, the cat's
That's a cute
adorable. Okay. But now she's taking the narrative into, oh, well, she went grandma, we're planting flowers and all that stuff. And now we get into, by the way, the last time I saw her is I walked her right here. I watched her go in, and then she follows it up with, listen to this, Josh.
On the kitchen table.
Got him.
And I watched her walk in there. And afterwards, when she was already in there, I walked over. I said, "Quiet." And he looked at me and I said, "Watch Sissy. I'll be right back." And that's when I walked back over to my mom's.
Okay.
And I was fixing her brace and stuff like that. And I said, "Well, Mom, I got to go back over with the kids."
Hey, Chris, just really quick. I'm sorry, but the trail that's right, the driveway, when you go down that way, that's where the basement door is, correct?
Correct.
So if they were standing doing the knee brace thing, they would see somebody come out of there.
Correct.
That's when I come back up into the house
Okay.
with the
But
boys.
Okay.
I wanted to ask your opinion on what I said earlier. Do you think the presentation feels like what you would see in somebody who's talking about their little kid potentially being taken by an RSO or just kidnapped or vanishing or whatever? What would be your reaction as a parent
Well,
describing the story? I mean, people can have a flat reaction. It is true, but I'm just curious what you think.
I think that this is somebody who's making stuff up. I think that the way that she's talking, she seems nervous to present, that she's hoping that Chris is buying what she's selling, and he's not, obviously, but I don't know if she knows that or not. But the fact that she's pointing into some bushes and going, there's an RSO that lives right there. Well, I don't know who that person is or what they've been accused of, but there's one that lives in that house that has a lot of issues, and that will sneak into a woman's house, steal her panties for self-gratification while getting arrested for cocaine. So yes, I think that she's trying to deflect. I think that her I don't know, man. The way that she just talks about is so matter of fact, and
Well, that's what I'm at. See, because in my experience, when people are talking out of pure emotion, their body and their face and their voice indicate that. And then there are some people that are dissociated from raw emotion, so they come across as flat, and then like traumatized people. And then there are some people that you can feel the little gulf that they've created between the emotion and what they want to say about it. They're talking about it from a distance, either because it's untrue or it's been manufactured, you know what I mean, that it's being altered, or they've memorized the script or whatever. So, and the question I'm asking, does this feel to you like the flattening of a person that is so emotionally overwhelmed that they've been traumatized and are just being sort of negative and flat or dissociated? Or does it feel like there's a sort of distance being placed because it's an intellectualized, memorized, kind of scripted story, and because it doesn't feel like raw emotion where it's just
I don't see any.
That's what
any emotion.
bothers me, because that mother would normally, you know what I mean, that even talking years later, it would be raw, shaking, anxious, terrible, or trauma. One of those.
They've been telling this story for weeks before I got there.
Well, it's bothering me.
I was the first one to get her to actually show us what that means. That's
why Dawn hates you.
And this was the very first. Well, the reason Don hates me is because Candace called him from the dollar store before we even got to the property. Don't ever forget the fact that she diverted, okay, and stopped at the dollar store. And I said, I thought we were going to your house. She goes, well, I got to get some food. I said, oh, okay. Karen and I waited in my truck for about 20 minutes. And she came out with one pizza or two pizzas in a bag. And I told Karen, I said, she's calling Don. Okay. And letting them know, giving them a heads up that we're coming. And it's not by accident that I go down in the basement and Girls Gone Wild is on the TV, because Donnie was home and he knows that I know. Now, where he was, I have no idea. I've always thought it was one of two places, either Grandis's camper, which you'll notice right there, she wouldn't let me in, or it was the other shed over by my truck where Karen was sitting. But I always thought that Don was there somewhere watching us.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but didn't she say to you that Don was going to join you?
Yes. And this is why the call that I just put up on Sunday is so important. He avoided me for 3 days, and I was in Nashville when he called me, and that's when that call was taken. And that's the conversation I had with him. And that's why he starts the call with, Hey, man, I'm sorry. I got to apologize to you.
Yeah, and he said, if I interpreted what's going on wrong or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my first rodeo. Again, we go back to, okay, Don, whatever. If you guys want to go down that road, you're more than welcome to. I'm just out here to find help.
And weren't you on assignment too? You were on assignment with the Cold Case Foundation out in Tennessee.
I was in Jackson, Tennessee on another case. Remember that young man that disappeared there, who, by the way, I told the family and the police department, what was his name? Sergeant Stamford, I think. We had a meeting together. I said, find the car, you'll find the boy. And guess what? They found the boy in the car.
Correct.
When they found the car. Okay. So I was on that case helping over there when Coop called me and said, hey, do you know there's another kid in East Tennessee that Rogersville, that has disappeared. Go over there and see what's going on and just kind of run, aside. And I knew the director of the TBI, I still do. Okay. And I called him up. I said, hey, what's going on up there? And he told me. I said, well, I'm going to be in the area and I'm going to, shake some things. If I get anything, send me a link and I will send any information that I get, so you guys have it. By the way, I'm not going to get in the way and I'm going to be poking around. He's like, yeah, go ahead. We're not going to, don't get in the way. And I said, yeah, no problem. Okay. And that's how I got involved in this.
They shared a Dropbox link.
Yeah, they sent me a Dropbox link.
Yeah.
And I uploaded some stuff to that Dropbox link. In fact, I uploaded this video, the full uncut version.
And they were very grateful. Very grateful.
I haven't heard back.
For all of this.
I get a subpoena, I guess we'll know.
Well, let me ask you something, Chris. Wasn't there because again, I don't have the familiarity you guys are. Wasn't there a moment that you described when you were speaking to Candace where you in your gut felt that she was about to say something very true and profound and revelatory, but then it got sort of clipped? It didn't.
Well, that was before this. That was at the water hole.
Where you felt that. Your gut.
There was no question she was going to tell me something that she has not mentioned to anybody yet. She had the exact same reaction on Dr. Phil that was the reaction that she had with me at the water hole. And I looked at Karen and I said, cut the camera. Okay. And Karen turned off the camera. Now I'll never do that again. That was a mistake. Okay. But I made that choice. And the reason behind that was just as she was about ready to talk to me about things, I thought, and I think she knows that I knew at that moment, something more, whatever that is. I don't know what it is. Okay. She looked over and she saw a search and rescue group. And she looked back at me and I said to her, do you know those guys? And she was looking at me like, you set me up. Okay. I mean, that was the vibe. It was so clear. Okay. And at that moment you could see her immediately no longer were the darts sharp and you get to throw them at the balloon and they bounce off. Okay. Remember, I was a vice detective. So I knew carnies at the Del Mar Fair in San Diego. We used to go confiscate booths with the sheriff's department and, cause they would get all the vice people from all the different agencies, San Diego PD, all of us would all get together. And anyway, long story short, I understood her personality. Okay. But this piece of the puzzle here, I think is the most critical piece of the puzzle because she mentions her boy's name and she says, keep an eye on your sister. Now, what she's doing is she's transferring that information to her children, one of them at least, okay, because she mentions him to Wyatt. Now, I tell Wyatt, keep an eye on your sister. Then she turns around and comes back, allegedly, to her mom. Okay. But she was conscious enough to tell me, to your point, Gary, I'm going to cross every T and dot every I like it's, something that I don't want them thinking that I didn't take her from the trailer to the house, et cetera.
Right. I was using the Steve Johnson kind of method, right? Of listening to the language and so. But I mean, have you shown this stuff to Steve Johnson?
Oh yeah, we did a whole
He's
show
been on this show. He's been on Chris's.
Yeah, we dissected this.
Yeah.
Was his opinion that there was something disconnected and sort of rehearsed about the?
It's everybody's opinion. I mean, I think Coops looked at this. Everybody has looked at this and says DLR.
Yeah, and Gary, not often, and I understand what you're doing and why you have to do it. Not often do I have to correct you. Telling the truth is not casting aspersions, by the way.
I just think, and
But you know,
but
yeah,
no,
I'm just saying that I get what you're.
I think you have to be a professional and appropriate, but I do think there's something very odd about this entire story, and but let the wheels of justice. But I have to tell you though, Chris, it's very hard for me to believe that there's not a folder this big in law enforcement's possession where they're aware of every interview that you've aired, every word of this, every contradiction,
let's talk about this principle down there that Deb just put up, the cornbread mafia.
What the heck is that?
Okay, so they exist. Okay, so, but are they in the business of kidnapping children? And if so, for why? Why are they doing that? And how many
that I've heard of?
How many other abductions have we heard where the cornbread mafia came up? Dr. Phil's guys came up with that. Okay, that's fine, great, and dandy. They may exist. Okay, they may exist, but again, you have to put them on the property. You have to put the cornbread, on the property that day.
Cornbread?
I do like cornbread.
The cornbread mafia. I mean,
they were weed growers.
Gary, now is the time to do the Brando voice.
Right.
When I saw that on Phil, whatever, Dr. Phil, I almost fell over. I was like, holy cow. Well, cornbread mafia now.
Yeah,
I never heard of this cornbread mafia.
There you go.
I think that looking to pop out.
What is the cornbread mafia?
We don't know, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Let's listen to what Kansas said.
You walked into the house.
I walked into here.
Listen. Now stop, Gary, or stop, Josh.
Can I just ask a question? Really
Here's another little tidbit that I just mentioned the other day that I've not mentioned to anybody else. I just said it the other day on Sunday. There's not a single picture of the children in this house.
No.
The whole place has such a terrible.
But there is a Confederate flag up there.
Unloved and unlived in kind of feeling.
Why do parents put photographs up on the walls of their children? To create a bond with that child to their safe environment. Okay. That's why when you see photographs of your family and your children, you look at all this stuff over here behind me in my wall of shame. This is a bond of my career. This is a bond of things that I have done. And these are reminders to me that, oh, hey, I did something. There's not a single picture of the children on the walls in this home. Any of them. Now, she has a lot of photographs on, Facebook, on Instagram and all that stuff. But you see, that's the public persona. She's projecting that publicly. But in her private persona, it doesn't exist. Children are objects. Okay? And they're objects to be, looked at. And so she projects it into the public by Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of that crap, but not in the house, not in her personal and private environment, because in the house, she's drinking, she's smoking pot, she's, doing all the things that Child Protective Service came in and said, hey, you're not taking care of these kids. Okay.
But that could also explain that flat presentation too.
The mask, right? The mask is off.
Drugs, things like that can also.
Right. Now, I've been holding that piece of the puzzle for 4 years. Okay. But now you go over and you look at the one picture that's in her house, and I asked her about it. I said, "Hey, who's that?" Josh?
Get up. I walked in here and them three were sitting right here in front with their eyes glued to the TV, like always. And I said, boys, where's your sister at? Well, she just went downstairs, mom, to play. So I went over here like this, because this is where the stairs are.
Okay.
It's actually down under there.
Oh, down into her
Down into
bedroom.
our bedroom, and then hers is on the other side.
Oh, okay, in the basement.
Yeah, in the basement.
Well, this makes sense now. See?
And then I yelled, I said, Summer, Summer. And she didn't, I listened for a minute, I didn't hear nothing. So I went like this. Is this how I would get down from there?
Yeah.
It must have been cut out. It must have been cut because I stopped us when I came in, and you saw that picture down at the very end there. There's only one picture, and meaning of a family, and that's her sister Rose. And Gary, that her sister Rose disappeared, evaporated.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to come on here.
It's the only picture she
Do I
has.
got to be tiny to get in there?
No, you should.
Can we come in from the other side?
Well, we can, but it make more sense if you went this way.
Okay, I'll follow you. Oh, man.
My 6 foot husband can fit down here. You can.
Dungeon, the kid.
My husband's 6 foot. I know.
Say that again.
Isn't this that dungeon room where the kid was?
Yeah, this
Where
is
Summer was?
this is
Okay,
Summer's
okay.
room. It's not the dungeon,
Oh my
according
god!
to them.
You can.
This. Oh, my gosh.
So stop.
Way to go.
Stop.
This is mine.
You can see the Girls Gone Wild on the
Oh, my
TV
gosh.
right there. See him pulling her shirt up
Way to go.
This is
on the TV.
Yeah,
Now-
and that's the thing that so I know somebody in the chat asked. They said, "Well, why would they leave that on for you?" No, whoever was down there was watching TV and darted out of there and didn't turn the TV off.
I think it's done.
Is it true that there was a Girls Gone Wild tape?
That's it. You just saw it
That's what that was.
mine.
Very interesting.
right there.
Way to go.
See her
These-
pulling her shirts right there. She's pulling her shirt up.
but it's interesting that these are adult women. You know,
In a child's, that's their bedroom on that side. Look how dark it is. Number
No,
one.
what I'm getting at is that somebody watching that for sexual arousal
This is
is interested in adult women.
That's done.
I'm just saying that's interesting.
Don's just
The boys are upstairs playing video games, and that's downstairs playing on a TV. Do that math.
I guess what I'm getting at is one could make the interpretation that somebody is making a gallant effort to say, I'm interested in adult women.
I don't think you.
Not
I don't
little
think you're
kids,
thinking that.
not little girls. I'm just saying it's interesting from a certain perspective to have that thing in that room. Is
Yeah,
it,
that's an interesting point for sure. But I look how the other thing. Let's reverse gears here for just
it's
30
on. Why is it on? I mean, it's almost like it's for show. Like, see, we wouldn't be interested in a little girl. You know,
maybe.
an adult women taking their clothes off.
But look how dark it is in that room
Mm.
in the middle of the day.
It's very, very disturbing.
You think a stranger can walk by that window, which is a one-way glass, by the way? You can't see into that room. And do you think you're going to see anybody in that room? Look how dark it is.
No.
But you know there's a 5-year-old little girl in there. And you also know this is a great place to break into, a burglar, right? To steal something, and you incidentally run into a 5-year-old in the room with 3 other kids upstairs, allegedly. You see how that theory doesn't.
And anybody who had even taken a peek at that place to be comfortable enough to go there in broad daylight and so forth would know that an adult would have a very hard time getting in or out of that room. I mean,
Well,
Chris, did you see how you had to go down there? It was like going down into like a weasel hole.
That was me going down into that weasel hole. It was, yeah.
Wow, I'm going to have a child in my arms, probably screaming, and have to get them out of that room. I mean, it's
Well,
very.
they're going to. Right. The theory is that they would have gone out this door right here, out that
That
door.
was blocked by a couch at the time.
Yeah, it was blocked by a couch. It was blocked by a blue couch. And by the way, they told the police that the door was locked. Okay. And you'll notice she corrects that this is the first time she corrected it by telling me, well, I don't know if it was locked or not. She makes sure that is part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what do you see? And all I wanted to do was to see I wanted to get into Summer's head. I wanted to see what she saw. And go ahead.
So sad.
My husband's room.
Okay.
And over here, well, it's a mess again.
That's all right.
But this is where Summer and little Waylon was, because Waylon's only 9.
Okay.
And they stayed down here. And these are all her toys, all her Paw Patrols,
All her movies. She's got a movie about the Savior.
The boys I brought back down here after she went missing because I didn't want them upstairs by themselves anymore.
Okay. And this is all her toys.
These are all her toys. All these toys that are down here are dang near all hers, except for like the trucks and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the game system. That's the boys'.
Okay.
But them are all her toys.
And she's really into Paw Patrol. I see that.
I've never even seen anything like that before.
So sad.
It was sad. It was very sad. And because, I wanted her to turn on some lights. But again, I let her lead. I let her lead the conversation. I didn't want to, lead the conversation. I wanted it just to flow. And it did. Okay. There were parts where I really felt she was being sincere, like this. Go ahead.
I think so too. I agree with you.
You're saying something very interesting, Chris, because as I'm listening to you, I find myself confused. Are you using techniques to try to get somebody to tell the truth when you think they're not? Or are you being kind to her? Part of me, I'm listening to her, and I think there's part of you that feels sorry for her.
I did. But you see, that's just my personality, Gary, and that's why.
Yeah, you're a kind man, yes.
Well, that's why they called me Father McDonough.
But you're also no dummy.
I haven't fallen off a turnip truck. And they used to like seriously, I mean, my boss would come out and go, why do they always tell you what's going on? What's going on with you?
Yeah.
I said, I have no idea. I don't. I try to treat people the way I would want to be treated. And in this, if she wants to lie, that's okay. Now, there will be times where I'll know it, I'll mark it, but then I'll redirect it inadvertently to her to where she's going, oh, I'm stuck. I better fix it. Better move either way. And that's why down at the water hole before this, okay, remember one thing about trust is we always remember, as we always think. People think that trust is earned. Okay. That's wrong. Trust is never earned. Trust is shared. Okay. When you share trust, I trust you, you trust me. How do we know that process is taking place? Okay. Because people cross that threshold and they get to the vulnerability spot where she was at the water hole. Okay. And that shared trust got broken instantaneously because of the searchers. And she thought I was involved in bringing those people down there. It was the universe is on schedule, a random event that just happened to this day. But it didn't change my trust of her, my shared experience with her through this experience. I was experiencing what she was trying to project. Okay. And I think that's the difference here, where when I talk to people, criminals or whoever, okay, I try to put myself into their environment, into their life. I want to know what Summer was feeling. And that was what was going on here. I wanted to know what it was like for a 5-year-old to come down those stairs.
Let's listen.
Yeah, I've been collecting from day one. And these are
Dr. Gary, and listen to what Chris says here.
all her little ponies that I've bought. And then these are them girls that she likes.
By the way, when he says it, Candace has no idea what he means, but she responds.
Them new fashion, I don't know what they are, little princesses or whatever.
I bet people in the chat.
Just like all kinds. Here's one of them bracelets.
Oh, that's just one of them. What do they call these? Oh, this is little pony bracelets.
Yeah, I don't know what they were really called, but she liked them, and so I just every time I go to Grazzo, I'd buy her what she wanted.
Okay.
You know, whenever I got a little bit of money, I spend it on the kids.
Yeah, this is her. This is. I understand her now.
Yeah.
Even better. Thank you.
He understood her. He's down in there. He's experiencing, feeling the being in that cold, dark room. And yeah.
You know, the
I mean,
other piece of this,
what were you-
notice she's wearing a crucifix.
I did notice that.
Did you hear the first question I asked her?
No.
Play it back. This right when we
Money, I
got
spend
down,
it on Grazzo, I'd buy her what
right when we got down, and she's starting to tell me about her stuff. Okay, right about there. Here.
down here after she went missing because I didn't want them upstairs by themselves anymore.
And this is all
And
her toys.
Them are all her toys. All these toys that are down here are all hers, except for like the trucks and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the game system. That's the boys'.
Okay.
But them are all her toys.
And she's really into Paw Patrol. I see
Yeah,
that.
I've been collecting from day one. And these are all her little ponies that I've bought. And then these are them girls that she likes. Them new fashion, I don't know what they are, little princesses or whatever. She's like all kinds. Here's one of them bracelets.
Oh, that's just one of them. What do they call these? Oh, this is little pony bracelets.
Yeah, I don't know what they were really called, but she liked them, and so I
It's
just
important.
every time I go to Grazzo, I'd buy her what she wanted.
Okay.
You know, whenever I got a little bit of money, I
Did I miss
But just for a second. Wait, because no, I mean, right when we're down there, when we first come down,
Gotcha.
keep going. Keep going. Okay, right there. Well, whoops.
Huh? My husband's 6 foot. I know if he could pay, you can.
This. Oh my gosh. Way to go.
This is my husband's room.
Okay.
And over here, well, it's a mess again.
That's all right.
But this is where Summer and little Waylon was, because Waylon's only 9.
Okay.
And they stayed down here. And these are all her toys, all her Paw Patrols,
All her movies. She's got a movie about the
The
Savior.
boys I brought back down here after she went missing because I didn't want them upstairs by themselves anymore.
And this is all her toys.
Them are all her
Did you hear what I asked her?
But all these toys
She has
by
a
themselves
movie
anymore.
about the Savior. And this is all her Why toys. did I
all,
do
her
that?
toys, all these toys.
Movie about the
The
Savior.
boys I all her Paw Patrols, all
All
her,
her movies. She's got a movie about the
the
Savior.
boys I brought back down here after she went missing because I didn't.
A lot of people miss that. It's a subtlety because she's wearing a crucifix. And so what I'm trying to do is have her bond
Yeah,
in a religious sense.
right.
Okay. It went right past her.
Yeah, she blew past that like a California stop.
But you know what's bothering me is, let's say, and again, I'm not,
You guys talk for a second. I'll be back in just 1 minute.
Right. but let's say this is a presentation that's designed to give the impression of being a wonderful parent. And so the problem is that in order to pretend that, you have to know that would be the right thing to do. So in other words, why wouldn't you do that in real life? In other words, it's like the difference, as I always say, between empathy and compassion. Empathy means you recognize a person's feelings, you're sensitive. Compassion is that you care about those feelings that you detect, right? So there are some people who they know what they should do to be kind to a person, but they don't feel the need to do it. And those are the people who know exactly what to say they did when they want to look like they care, right? But if you really don't have it in you to have appropriate feelings, you wouldn't even know how to fake it. And that's what bothers me, is that if it's possible that this isn't a true story, then why wouldn't you have done all those wonderful, loving things when the kid was alive? That's very disturbing to me. But but I don't know what went on here.
what's the room speak to you?
Well, the room smacks of a total, it's almost like as if childhood didn't exist. It's a kind of it's almost like a punishment to be alive kind of thing. Unwanted, unlived in, unloved. It's I mean, look how barren it looks like a bomb shelter, that the bomb got inside of. And but I like the style that you use, Chris, because it reminds you. It's something somebody said to me once when I was in that crossover period of my life between seminary and becoming a psychologist, and a person, a priest friend of mine said that I reminded them a lot of the scripture. This is true of you too. The scripture that says, "I send you out as lambs among wolves, therefore be as wise as a serpent and as innocent as a dove." And I think that idea of going into it like you're totally naive and sort of looking through the heart at a person while also not being an idiot is exactly the approach you use, right? So it's warm, it's loving, it's compassionate, it's kind, but it's also like, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining kind of thing, right? So I appreciate that style because I think it's exactly how you've got to be. But I guess what I'm getting at is looking at all of this, even if the person's telling the truth, I mean, there would have to be some kind of disconnect between what a person actually feels and the way you treat them and all that. And yet she's giving an excellent description of what a loving parent would do. So if you understand how to be a loving parent, why does the room look that way? If you understand how to be a loving parent, why is there Girls Gone Wild on the TV? Why is there? It's all very odd. And there are a lot of things that just have this feeling of making a gallant effort to communicate something. I knew where the RSO was. We were outside, planting and being loving. Look at my big cross. These things smack of really going out of your way to communicate, even in all of that chaos, to communicate a very clear narrative that you're sticking to. I cannot say for sure that that's what's going on, but it would feel to me like somebody was trying to give me a very clear narrative. And didn't you have that sense also, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, there was no
story. We're sticking to it, kind of thing.
Yeah, and by the way, my personality. I'm very blunt.
I know, it's great.
I just get right to the point. It's like, time to move on. But at the same time, I'm very sincere with her and with other people. I don't.
Yes,
what you see is what you get with Chris McDonough, unfortunately. Okay.
And very kind, always kind, even when you think somebody is a dirtbag.
I try to be, but at the same time, I like just life as a whole. Okay. I mean, I was that cop that pulled up to the homeless guy and handed him, whatever. Hey, here you go. Don't get drunk though. Okay. That would be my prerequisite. Okay. Don't get drunk. Okay. I used to take my kids around the holidays and we would drive around. There was one guy that I loved. His name was Willie Waller. He was a Vietnam veteran and he had PTSD and he was on the streets for years and years and years. And for almost 15, 16 years, every Christmas he knew I was going to show up. And with my kids watched him on the streets. Okay. I've been like that my whole life. I don't know why, but I could tell you stories. People wouldn't believe it, but that's okay. It's not about me. I've had prisoners write letters to me, thanking me for treating them like human beings. I've had murderers like you, Gary, that get letters saying, hey, thank you for treating me, with respect and all this other stuff. I wanted to find Summer. I still want to find Summer. And I think she knew that I wanted to do that. And I think there was a part of her, and I still do, even to this day. And you hear it in the phone call, because remember that phone call that I just put up is after this interview. That Don calls me and he says, hey man, and so I haven't missed a beat when he calls me. I'm like, hey, how are you? What's going on? Okay. That's just how I am. Now, I'm also, trying to figure out where's Summer. So again, to your point, I've learned through investigative techniques and investigative experience that, if she wants to lie, let her lie. It's up to her.
But my guess, I don't know.
Yeah,
Because
I
don't
get
know
it.
as well as you do. My guess is that what you would see with a person like this is a mixture of things that feel a little insincere and times that authentic emotion cracks through and there's real pain there. And
Absolutely.
and that is important, because there's something real here, but I don't know what it is. And do you get that same thing with Don? Or it's all
Don's a different beat. Don's a different beast. Okay. Don grew up in the prisons, in the prison system. He's been in and out of jail ever since he was a kid. So Don is a career criminal. Okay. So I take him, a little bit differently than I do Candace.
I hate you, Chris McDonough. I'm
So-
gonna ruin your life.
Exactly.
Remember he said that to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's all, I'm gonna slander your name.
Yeah.
And he says to me, I'm gonna kill you, Josh.
Yeah.
Like,
you've gotten threatened?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And the reason for the threat was what?
he wasn't a big fan of he's not a big fan of our coverage of
I told him, get in line. You're late. You're late. Anyway, that's it.
Upstairs. By
Go ahead.
themselves
John.
anymore.
And this is all
And
her toys.
Them are all her toys. All these toys that are down here are dang are all hers, except for like the trucks and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the game system. That's the boys'.
Okay.
But them are all her toys.
And she's really into Paw Patrol. I see that.
I've been collecting from day one. And these are all her little ponies that
Play
we
it to the point where she
Brown
just goes
bottoms.
outside. But listen,
and
when
These
she
are the
corrects herself about the
girls
dog,
that
that's critical.
she likes. Them new fashion, I don't know what they are, little princesses or whatever. She's like all kinds of, here's one of them bracelets.
This is one of them.
I will say that having talked to, and I'm not saying what's going on here, but having talked to a lot of sex offenders and so forth, it is not an uncommon method to have a child's room be an unpleasant setting so that there's a justification for the child wanting to spend more time in the room with the grown-up.
Right next door.
Right? So you say, but all the fun stuff is in daddy's room, not down in that place, so that it becomes a way of the kid choosing to go to or preferring to go. It becomes associated with pleasure. But just putting that out there, that's an interesting thing.
Isn't it interesting too that Don saw her, one of the first visuals that he has when he's asked, well, what do you think happened to your daughter? And he answers it essentially, well, I hope she's not in a basement being held, tortured, etc. And he mentions that word. Okay. Where does that come from?
well, it's funny they say, where does this come from?
I have 7 alibis. Candace ain't got none. She's going down.
I have 7 alibis. Candace ain't got none. She's going down.
Yeah, good point.
And what do they call these? Oh, this is little pony bracelets.
Yeah, I don't know what they were really called, but she liked them, and so I just, every time I go to the garage sale, I'd buy her what she wanted.
Okay.
Whenever I got a little bit of money, I spend it on the kids.
Yeah, this is her. I understand her now
Yeah,
even better. Thank you.
you're welcome.
This is really important.
But yeah, I come down and I searched. I looked up underneath the beds under there. We can't really get them. I can't get them there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I looked under there, looked under every blanket I could possibly look under.
Yep.
And then I come over here and I look on one side and see nowhere. And I don't remember.
Now look, she says that she looks on this side, but if you look, there's nothing down there to look on that side.
Yeah.
So there was a couch down there. But by the way, she denies that there was a couch. She said the couch was like they hadn't had it for years, is what she said. And then Dawn said, well, we got rid of that couch right after Summer went missing.
recall if this was locked or not. I don't
Okay.
recall that.
But I have
Okay.
to tell you that most people, especially if people were conniving or psychopathic or something, if they were worried about it looking like they created a negligent or dangerous situation, very quickly would have tidied that place up, painted it, cleaned it up, put some furnishings, made it look like the kid was living in a wonderful setting.
Don made that house look spectacular. He had the skills and he had the equipment and the
Right. It's all.
Don was a very good drywaller finisher. I mean, he really.
I mean, when the Nazis had death camps, even they thought to create one camp that looked beautiful that they called Theresienstadt, so that every time the Red Cross came, they would visit that one. And in that one, people were treated very well. They got food. They were normal weight. They were whatever. In other words, they knew that they had to have a place to present to make it look like a fabulous, because otherwise you'd see reality. Well, as I'm saying, it's very odd to keep it so dumpy and show it off and whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you pick the place up a little bit?
Well, from what I've heard, Dr. Gary, from what I've heard, this is cleaned up.
That's pretty bad.
I'm not even kidding. I have heard that place was even more disastrous before, when there was no attention on the place, and then they started getting attention and bad attention online on Facebook. People were very accusatory of them, and but this is actually the cleaned up version of that house.
Oh,
No
I see. So that the principle stands, but our definition of tidied up is a little different.
Correct.
But I know it's hard on me. But I know I did come out here and I said summer. Because
See, she
sometimes
had
she'll
just
sit
said before that, I don't know if the door was locked or
right
not.
here. I don't remember. I don't recall if this was locked or not. I
Okay.
don't recall that.
Okay.
But I know it's hard
The
on me.
reason she
But I
did
know
that is because she told the cops it was locked.
Correct.
I did come out here and I said summer.
I would like to know. I mean, there's a million things that I'd like to know, but I would like to know what the cops know about what was in front of that door.
Because sometimes she'll sit right
Just
here.
let's stop for a second. Because if this is the dog trail story now, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's got to unlock that door, open the door, and run out that door. And by golly, he's got to be right there to snatch her and take her back down the dog trail.
And Beck Carter says here, sadly, they could have cleaned and fixed the house up to get their boys back, but that didn't happen. I don't think they've gotten them back. They were never getting those boys back, ever. It just wasn't going to happen. And they played everybody along the way saying, we're trying to get the boys back. There wasn't, from what I understand, that there's a list given to parents, the things that they need to do for them to be considered to get their kids back. And they did get that list, but nothing ever happened. Meaning, they had no intention of doing that, nor were they ever going to get those children back. I believe 100% that they were never going to get those children back, and for good reason.
Just sit here and play, just for And usually when she comes out, she goes
in between the buses.
But Chris, you've been to many houses where you go in, you look, and you go, "This house is a disaster," and you would get CPS involved, correct?
I would have taken those kids into protective custody
Right away.
right the moment I saw that house.
When you see this property,
The moment I saw that house, that day, I would have opened the refrigerator. I would have seen the condition of the food. I would have looked at all the beds. I would have looked at all the access points, and I would have taken all 4 of those children that day into protective custody.
yes, correct.
And then I would have filed a report, child neglect, against those parents.
At minimum.
directly that way up to the swing.
I would have charged them.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, and Chris, that's what I'm saying. I still to this day don't understand how they didn't get any charges when you get 3 children permanently taken from your house. There has to be something illegal going on for that to happen.
Well, the state doesn't come in and just say, "Oh, by the way, you're no longer parents." Okay.
Correct.
It's right. It's the first responding officer's responsibility. If anybody ever gets up there, and I don't care, if they think they're hillbillies or what the deal is, okay, being a hillbilly is no excuse for having children raised in this type of environment, period. Okay. And that's why the sheriff's department is there, to show up if they were ever there in a domestic or anything like that. And the reason a lot of cops don't do it is because it's a lot of paperwork. You know, you're babysitting the kids, you're trying to find them, you know, placements. We used to call it impound the kids. Okay. And we had Casa de Amparo. So we had Casa where you would take the kids into custody and, you know, you'd have the social workers come out and they would take the children from the department. You would take them to the PD. You know, you start your paperwork. Okay. And then the social workers would show up from Casa and all the kids would go to Casa. Now, it all depends on what, you know, age they are or whatever the deal is. Okay. But now remember, I worked in Southern California, okay, where kids were living in hotels, a lot of them. Okay. And we would snatch kids. I mean, in the Vadio and all kinds of places, right? I mean, I had a caper one time where a guy was living in a tree on a piece of plywood. Okay. So these are the kind of things where you know, just because it's a different environment doesn't mean it's not your responsibility as a law enforcement officer to put the extra effort in and take these children out of that environment. Okay. For their own safety. Okay. For their own safety.
And I want to say in ICU, where you say Tennessee will drop charges if parents sign away their rights, that happens sometimes, but it's not automatic. And, you know, depending on the specific crimes, the specific charges, some may be dropped, but they do not have to drop those charges. Now, they may have made a deal with them, and I guess sometimes, you know, if they were contesting or not, but they were never going to get the children back, and they knew it. And I think that I think it's a mistake to do something like that, but that's just my personal opinion.
This is like her.
Yeah, she
We
just
should
walks.
come running out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
We're about at 3 hours, so we're gonna have to wrap it up here because I got a dog going crazy.
you can see the path here.
Right to this way.
Right, you can see
I
where
just
she.
wanted to ask if the children that were in the other people that were in the home, have you spoken to them, or are they too young, or what?
No, nobody.
How old are they?
Well, the kids have already been taken away when I talked to her that day.
But in other words, that day that Summer disappeared, living in the home was only the father, the mother, and the grandmother?
No, the three children.
And the three children, how old were they?
How old was Wyatt? Do you guys know?
I think it was 7, 9, and 11. So Waylon wasn't Waylon the youngest?
I forget, to be honest with you. Guys,
Waylon, I think, was
9,
7.
11, and 12. There you go, Debbie.
And those kids, if they, you know, were
9,
taken
11,
away or whatever, I mean, obviously they would have been asked about anything that was going on, and that
Yeah, they took them in.
so forth. So, and they never came back.
No, the state took the parental rights away.
I mean, if
Could've
anything went on there that the kids knew about, it's hard to believe they wouldn't have told someone.
Well, that is part of the reason that I believe there was a no contact order, is because that there was possibly, I mean, I don't know this for 100% fact, but the fact that Don was so adamant that he wasn't allowed to talk to his kids about their own sister going missing, he was extremely pissed off about that. I mean, yelling about it one time online.
Are you implying that because there'd be no control over the narrative?
Yes.
I see.
Yes. Also, I want just for the people that are new to this situation, this story, I want you to hear what the current sheriff had to say about Don and Candace.
And is the family still cooperating? I know you said obviously Don's there, but like the mother and all those other people, are they still cooperating?
No, they're not cooperating right now. They have attorneys.
No, they're not cooperating now. They have attorneys. I mean, who wouldn't cooperate with their kid going missing unless they may have some involvement?
Right up to
and this
here.
is all the further she would go. She wouldn't leave.
Okay.
She wouldn't go out nowhere else.
Okay. I want to go around this side. What is this blue thing here?
And Jose told us that Summer would wander off a lot. So if in fact she's saying, and if you listen here,
I don't know where else.
it could imply that, yeah, she may have been wandering up. Look, I don't believe that she was in the basement. I mean, I just don't. It's an impossible story to believe for me. I think that everything that they said, the story, and we'll end on this here, but the story that they gave, and Don knows this, it gives them plausible deniability to where if a stranger comes into your house and abducts your child, how is that my fault? I'm a victim too. And that does happen. But they chose the story that completely separates them from any sort of responsibility, any sort of criminal responsibility. They couldn't say that she wandered off and got hit by a car. Of course they couldn't say that. She couldn't say that she let her go into the water and wasn't watching her and she swallowed a bunch of water and possibly, drowned that way. She's not saying she's there. They are in their very first interview, 13 days after Summer goes missing, they are adamant that somebody came up on that hill and took Summer. And they have made that their whole, I mean, that's the hill that they live on and die on. And it's just unbelievable to me.
That's a really solid point. Go ahead, Gary.
I just think as we're ending, it's important to say that obviously our discussion tonight was not to say in an accusatory way, this is who did it. It's simply to raise really important and I think very interesting questions that do make one wonder why the community of people that are interested in this case feel the need to kind of go so far afield and have all these sort of peculiar interpretations and so forth. And I don't understand because there's a lot of more simple questions to ask about this case. But I think I strongly suspect two things. One is, as much as I hate to say it, I do not believe, unlike a lot of people in the audience, I do not believe the child is alive. That's number one. There are people in the audience talking about, I think one day she'll be found. I personally do not. I don't know that for sure, but my very strong instinct is that she's deceased and has been deceased since the time she disappeared. And the second thing is that I think is important. Well, there's a few. Is also that I just want to say that I do believe that in the end, I think this case is going to get solved. I don't think this is going to go cold. I think what's going to happen is eventually, because it's such an unsophisticated kind of thing all around, and you've got multiple people involved, that eventually somebody talks. An argument between people makes someone talk, guilt, whatever. Holding it together is too much. They're under too much pressure. They slip up. They say there's a contradiction. And no matter how you look at it, whether it's two brothers or a group of tree trimmers or, people in that house, there's no story in which an individual alone, unless it's some sex offender that doesn't seem to exist that did this. There's all stories in which there's multiple parties, and that's a good thing, because the more people involved, the more likely one of them is going to talk. And Chris, you know how that is. It's like no matter what people say, there isn't that much honor among thieves, and eventually somebody yaps. And my strong sense is that eventually there's going to be a break in this case, and I do think it'll get solved. I do. I don't think law enforcement is ignorant of a lot of this stuff. I think they're just giving people enough rope to, I think they're watching.
One of the big theories is that because Summer was getting ready to go to school, and that there could be possibly malfeasance going on in the home. I don't have any evidence of that, but I mean, Don has shown his true colors about stuff before that. Maybe they couldn't let her be, be taken to the doctor, or maybe that she went to the doctor, and that they, they were going to be in trouble, or Dawn was going to be in trouble, or somebody was going to be in trouble. Maybe it just even from neglect itself, maybe not feeding her the proper foods. Maybe she's anemic. Maybe she had bruises. I'm just saying, I don't know that, but that's a huge theory and I've discussed that with Muscles and Mascara before. And, she was, is that a plausible theory to you guys?
I don't know. My experience tells me that it's the cast of players hasn't changed. Okay. I mean, if you think about it, the same names for 5 years have been talked about, have been bantered around. Okay. So there's not some strange, anomaly here of some unknown dude that shows up, right? Some other dude. Okay. The names that have all popped up, whatever, Randy, Andy, Jose, Jody Stu, Fred, Dudley, just go down check them off. They're right out of central casting. Okay?
And Chris, just to be clear, not a trace of DNA, dandruff, blood, not a trace of a human being being there that was an outsider that came in to take a kid, right?
Summer is gone.
Right.
Vanished.
Do you believe that she's deceased also?
5-year-olds don't vanish.
Right.
Okay. They don't vanish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, it just doesn't happen. Okay. Now,
right.
Here's the problem that we're up against. Whenever there's a deceased child, potentially,
mm-hmm.
even the prisoners know that.
Mm-hmm.
And the prison system knows that. You don't want to go into the joint with a jacket saying you harmed a child.
No, you do not.
Correct.
That is a real problem.
Big problem.
That's also a problem on the street. Because you have to overcome that problem if other people know
right. Absolutely.
That's an issue. Okay.
And the card team, Chris.
Well, the card team showed up within the first 2 weeks and said, this is not an abduction.
Correct.
They came right out and said it. I've said it from day one. Again, we go back to the same cast of players.
Right.
Okay? So who knows what? And the only way you start getting things to start moving is you take first mover opportunity, right? Just like in business. The first guy to get the product to the marketplace wins the deal. And I think at some point they got to start. They had Don cold numerous times early on. And they could have twisted him and they could have said, look, let me play something. And you play that 30 seconds. She's got 7. I've got 7 alibis. She's got 1.
Like one of the most diabolical things I've ever heard somebody say if they had nothing to do with Summer going missing and Dawn is joking about that. I think maybe he was half joking and half serious. Prayer Garden says right here, and this is true, Dawn changing vehicles one day before Summer went missing, which he admits to, firing his coworker Dudley. Tells us Dawn, Candace, and Grandis are guilty in her opinion. They're guilty of something. I just don't know.
I love listening to Prayer Garden, by the way. I listen to her all the time.
Dawn hates her.
You may not know that, Prayer Garden, but I listen to you all the time, and
hey,
I listen to everybody, to be honest with you. Like, go ahead.
One time I made Dawn laugh, and I caught it on. Are you ready for this? Do you not?
You fucked me up, dude.
Do you not?
Lord.
There you go. Play that one where he says, do you still have that? The clip where he goes 7 alibis.
7 out. Oh yeah, of course. Hold on.
Lord, it
I
sounds
have
Yes.
like Linda Blair with the head spinning.
7 alibis. Candace ain't got none. She's going down.
Okay, so think about that concept, just that concept, right?
A little bit. I'm sorry. Hold on.
I have 7 alibis. Candace ain't got none. She's going down.
Okay, how long ago was that? Like 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. And so for 4 years, right? None of this information has come to the surface where, they're saying, okay, well, what are those 7 alibis done? Okay, let's go through one. And so if it was my case, I would really spend a lot of time with them. And they would get really, really bored of seeing me every single day. I wouldn't take them into custody. I would just keep showing up every day saying, hey, you want to go to lunch? Let's go talk about this. And every single day or every other day, whatever it is, every week. Okay. And, if you're not asking them anything, you're just talking to them, they're not in custody, you got no problems. Okay. You got no problems. I know of cases where investigators I dressed up as a pizza man one time, as a pizza delivery guy one time. And I was delivering pizzas and the guy comes to the front door and I had the hat. It was a Pizza Hut. I had a Pizza Hut hat. I had a Pizza Hut vest and I had a pizza. Okay. But what he didn't know is in the pizza box, when I opened it, was a warrant for his arrest.
Oh my God, that was a very Columbo thing to do.
So we called him and said, hey, you've won a pizza. Our delivery guy is going to be there. Is this so-and-so such? Oh, yeah. What do you mean I won a pizza? Yeah, you've won a large pizza. This is Pizza Hut. And we're going to be there to deliver it. Are you home now? Yeah, I'm home. Okay, what's your address? And you confirm the address. Okay, great. We'll be there in about 15 minutes. I showed up at the door with the Pizza Hut outfit. So you, Mr. So-and-so such and such? Yeah, I need to see your ID just to verify that I can give you this free pizza. Oh, yeah, here you go. And I took the ID and I put it in my pocket, opened it up. I said, you're under arrest. And the cavalry came and we hooked him up.
What?
Goodbye.
Hilarious.
Enjoy your pizza. That's what Don needs. Don needs somebody just to hang out with him and be friends. Okay. I know another case where we were trying to get DNA from somebody and we dressed up as busboys where the guy was eating. He'd keep coming to this one restaurant and eat. And it was the cops serving him the food.
Hey, Gary.
Here's your meal. Thank you very much. And after it was done, pick the plates up and put it into evidence.
Have you ever heard when Chris pretended to be an insurance salesman?
That was another story. That's by the way, there's a special coming out.
That one.
You haven't heard that one?
I don't know that one.
There's
Dale Warner, right?
Yeah, it's coming out in January. By the way, it's going to be something interesting. I can't talk about it right now because I'm not supposed to, so I'm not going to, but it is coming out and there's a program coming in January about.
You were interviewed for it?
I was in it. And I know you were involved in something too coming out, but we can't talk about it.
I can't talk about it at all. You mean that I've for? Yeah. But seriously, these stories, I mean, they're very Columbo, I could picture you with the trench coat and the
another thing I used to do all the time, you pick up the phone.
Yeah, I totally.
Right. You get a tow truck. You get a tow truck coming up. Okay. And you pull up and you'd stand outside with the brick. Okay. And you call the suspect. Mm-hmm. Okay. Say, hey, this is, Chuck Jones, whatever it was, the San Luis Rey Towing is who we used to use. Hey, this is San Luis Rey Towing. We're outside of your house. Do you own this blue Ford? What do you mean a blue Ford? What are you talking about? Who is this? This San Luis Rey Towing. Look out your window. They'd look out and the tow truck would be there with the lights on like he's backing up. Okay. They come running out. You're under arrest,
Yeah, that's my.
sucker.
So we can't talk about the insurance salesman.
You could, well, that didn't work. It didn't work. He said, "You're not an insurance salesman." Walked right
It was
past.
just funny because he went off on you and you didn't even care at all.
Yeah. And the other, we had a warrant operation one time when I was in SEB, Special Enforcement Bureau. This is Vice President. We gave away free TVs. We set up a shop, right? And invited everybody down for a free TV. Okay. And they all showed up. I mean, we had like 30 or 40 warrants. And they all showed up, and we'd go, well, right through that door, go pick up your TV. The guys out front be verifying, and we had arrest teams on the other side of the door when they come through.
Wow.
And they never came back out with a TV. They all went in one way.
But I will say, I love these stories, but I will say, because I know, Josh, you got to go with the dogs.
Yeah, I do.
I just want to say that from a psychological perspective, if you really thought that to get to the bottom of this story, you needed to get one of these two to talk, I think the key is to divide them. You have to make one think that the other one couldn't give a flying leap about them, or that they could safely, that they would be safer to rat the other one out. In other words, because there would have to be some bond between them that you fracture, a fight, or something, whatever. And Chris, you know this, that you have to divide the people that are in the group. And I really think that would be the key to the whole thing, to wait until there was a rupture or a little bit of a chink in the armor, and then rush in and kind of be like, look, I think it's time to throw the other one under the bus. And if they were involved in some way, that would be very, very necessary. Otherwise, I guess you have to wait around for the tree trimmers or whoever you think did this to rat each other out.
Fracturing, and then they keep mending and fracturing and mending. And I'm telling you, I just have this feeling, this overwhelming feeling that they've made a pact, no matter what happens.
It's a mutual destruction pact.
Correct.
That's the whole thing. And I think it's essential to understand the key is to break the group apart, or break the pair apart, whoever you think did this, because no matter how you slice it, there seems to be some group, unless there's this non-existent sex offender. And then, to kind of create a situation where one person feels that there'll be safety in doing it because they're protecting themselves. Yes. Screw the other one, that kind of thing. Because that's always how you get these things. So
I think, Don,
yeah,
if anybody wants to tell the truth, and Don, if you're watching, I'm still here. Josh is still here.
Hi, bud. Good to see you.
Whenever you decide, whatever that day is, before the cops find anything even further, if you're watching, you have my number. You can call me 24/7, 365. I told you I would walk you through it no matter what. But at some point.
And he thanked you for that.
He did thank me. And I haven't changed one bit. And I know he hasn't. Okay. And I know you've been back in Utah, after the death of your father, and I'm sorry that happened. And I know there was a lot of discussion about the house, etc. Okay. And you didn't get the house, but there's still information out there. If you're listening, then this has got to come to an end at some point, no matter what. It's not going to go away. It's never going to go away. That's the other thing that people forget.
Well, what I'd add to what you're saying, Chris, is that if whoever is responsible for this, whoever, and I really mean whoever, like absolutely no idea, right? Whoever is responsible for this, if they're listening, because I would imagine the person would be watching everything related to this, it's important to understand that even if you run all the way until the end of your life, you've got to meet your maker. And this is the kind of thing there's no escaping, even in the spiritual sense. ultimately, the truth is the truth, and one has to come clean about it, even if just to him. And I think it's important to understand that ultimately, if you've done something wrong, the best way to handle it is to come clean and be open about it, and at least be able to look at yourself in the mirror just a little bit, that at least you did the right thing then. And you said, you know what? I did a terrible thing, and I'm going to throw myself on the mercy of the world and my maker. You know what I mean, Chris?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, completely. And I think, Don recognizes that too. But also, right. But also more importantly, while you still have the breath of life, for lack of a better term, this isn't about you, Don. It's about Summer. And it's about Candace and Summer and Grandis. Okay. But you got to be the first one to the table. Because if they get to the table, if the authorities are coming close, and as you can tell, it's picking up again. If you're listening, and this is only if you're listening, the authorities are going to get close, and the first one to the table, to the buffet, you need to cut yourself, some filet mignon before somebody else does it. Because if you don't, right now you would be going down, like you've never seen before, and you don't want to go that route because you know what it's all about, and you know what I'm talking about. So if at any time you change your mind, you have my number. Maybe I'll call you one day. I don't know yet, but it's not going to go away. Nobody's going away. The cops aren't going away. The FBI's not going away until they find Summer, period. And whatever that means, if they find her wherever with somebody else or buried or whatever the deal is, like you said, you saw her in the resurrection within the first week. So you know what? Let's make that resurrection come true. Let's bring it home. But that's up to you. But the one thing I will tell you, from my perspective, as long as I have the breath of life, I'm not going away. And until that child, at least there's a story behind her disappearance, whatever that means. And so grab it while you can, brother. And I'd be more than glad to talk to you about it a little bit more in depth. Okay?
Well, whatever happened to her and whoever is responsible, I mean, that child, if she is deceased, she deserves a loving and dignified burial, service, so forth, not to be wherever she is like garbage. That is a human being. And that's the other thing. Unless the person who did it is some kind of monster, you've got to remember what you're dealing with here. This is a little kid, and who deserves dignity. And I think, Chris, Josh, you would agree that at the very least, if a terrible mistake has been made and this child is gone, at the very least she deserves that kind of dignity. A place to be laid with flowers and so forth. She didn't get them in life. Maybe she can get that kind of dignity in death. And wouldn't you say, Chris?
It's up to Don.
Whoever, right? And I think, the good Lord, I think sometimes, these things cry out to heaven, and they have a way of getting solved.
It's up to Don, Candace, and Grandis. Maybe Jody Sue, maybe Andy, maybe Fred, maybe Dudley, maybe Randy. I don't know. The list goes on.
Or whoever. I have no idea. You know better than I do this case.
Don
don't know.
Holds the key with Hunter. They hold the key. And Don, that's the other thing you got to remember. He's only 19 now. Okay. He's going to roll one day on you. You know he is. And if he does, Okay. Before you had an opportunity to tell it the way it is. Okay. You're going to want this conversation back again. We've had this conversation 100 times. Hunter is the wild card, because if he gets locked up because he's on that trajectory to go to prison, if he gets locked up for doing something, let's say slinging dope or whatever, and he turns to the authorities and says, and let me make this real quick for you. I know who killed, or I know what happened to Summer Wells. The authorities are immediately going to say, what happened? And that's why I say Hunter is the key. Because if he's looking at 25 years in prison, you don't think, Don, that he's going to sell you out in 5 minutes? Maybe 4? Think about that piece of the puzzle, brother. I don't think either you or Candace or anybody in that circle has thought about that piece of the puzzle. He was 15 when this thing went down, and now he's an adult. And he's on a trajectory of criminal activity, pretending he's a gangster disciple and all this other crap. Okay. He's going to get hooked up, and he's going to be looking at a sentencing, and he's going to turn to his attorney and say, I want a deal. And they're going to say, well, what's the deal? I know what happened to Summer Wells. You know how I know that, Don? Because Candace went over to the house.
Yeah, she wanted to know what he said.
And asked him, what did you tell the cops?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And guess what, Don? It ain't over. Because when he gets hooked up, like I said, he's gonna start chirping. Anyway,
he would like some leverage, I'm sure, at some point.
You know what? Let's help him. Maybe he'll get arrested. If he's a hard guy, let's see what happens. All right.
Okay.
Lab rats, love you all. Gary, love you. Josh, love you. Aloha. Take care. Smell you later.
All right, Chris. Thanks for being here, and Dr. Gary as well. Thank you, guys. I got to go deal with this dog who's rather upset. You all right there?
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's clear that we don't really know what happened here.
We absolutely don't.
It's very important, and that I also, the full weight of the story, when you laid it out the way you did tonight, you realize how profoundly sad it is, and how Summer Wells is like a microcosm of what's going on all over the place all the time with so many children. And it's really hard to bear it when you really, really soak it in. I mean, it's a disturbing, depressing reality. And if you have children, and chances are they're in a beautiful little room with toys and being loved by you, I hope, hold them close, hug them, kiss them, take care of them, protect them, because, life is this crazy crapshoot. And some people are born to people where the biggest problem in the family is, what flavor noodle salad are we going to have at the picnic? And some kids are born to a mess. And, just be a good parent and protect your children from the monsters that are out there. And, it's just unfathomable what happens to some children.
Sure is.
All
right, Gary.
Just think about them and love your kids, All right. Take care.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And you can get Dr. Gary's book, The New Evil, at any major bookstore on Amazon. If you get it on Amazon, please leave a comment. Also, you can subscribe to the Interview Room if you have not. We'll put the link in the chat as well. And so anyway, I appreciate you guys being here very much. Thank you so much for the memberships and the super chats to help my channel. I appreciate it very much, but I just appreciate you guys being here and liking and sharing as well. I mean, it means a lot to me and to the lab rats as well. I appreciate you guys, and I'm thankful for all of you as well. I know we're a day past Thanksgiving, but I wanted to tell you guys that I am thankful that you guys show up and support us in what we're doing here. So thank you guys very much, and we will catch you next time.